What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories.
6WI. Chapter 105 The Battle of the Four Emperors ends. Unify the New World. Shout. Fight. Broken ships, seas stained red with blood. The floating sea was full of dead bodies, and everything in front of them was like purgatory. The fighting continues, and countless lives are lost every second. Uchiha Madara looked down at the two people in front of him. Surrender or die. The cold voice echoed in my ears and beat on my heart. Either surrender and become a running dog, or die and be buried in the bottom of the sea. Other than that, there is no second choice. The crowd was silent, and the cold murderous intent was baptized like Han Yoruichi, freezing through the heart. Bigmom and Whitebeard looked at Uchiha Madara floating in the sky, and fell silent for a moment. They can obviously feel the strength gap between the two sides. If you continue to fight, there is a 90% chance that you will die in this sea. If you surrender, you can live. If you continue to resist, you can only go to a dead end. Whitebeard glanced back at the crew behind him. Father, don't worry about us. We will not necessarily lose if we continue. A group of rebellious crew members shouted angrily. They who have not personally fought Uchiha Madara, do not know the heavy pressure when facing Uchiha Madara. Enough to suffocate you can't breathe. My sons, the battle now has nothing to do with you. The 337 destination of pirates is to be buried in the sea. You are still young and you still have a long way to go. Boom. The razor in his hand fell hard on the boat plank. Whitebeard tore off his coat and looked up at Uchiha Madara in the sky. If I die here, don't think about avenging me, this is my choice and destiny. Daddy. Marco couldn't help but took a step forward. If you still recognize me as the father, just listen to me. Whitebeard didn't turn his head, but the calm tone made Marco stop. As he has been following Whitebeard, he knows Whitebeard's arrogance and temper better than anyone else. If it weren't for these sons to drag him down, Whitebeard's achievements may not be lower than Luogia. Even, it may not be Luogia who becomes One Piece. As the strongest ever, Whitebeard far surpassed Luogia in both power and prestige. Luogia can become One Piece only because Whitebeard Raftel has no interest. Uchiha Madara, if you defeat me, the entire Whitebeard pirates will be yours. This is my Whitebeard oath, and this is a duel, with lives at stake. Shirtless Whitebeard, with a crescent-shaped beard trembling, every muscle in his body is trembling. Blood flowed from the corner of the mouth, and the powerful trembling force went straight to the heart. The palpitating fluctuations spread from his body, and the space around him collapsed. This is Whitebeard's pinnacle combat power. Break the shackles of yourself and the world at the cost of life and everything. Bet on the strongest name of an era. Gu la 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 la. Uchiha Madara, lousy as Whitebeard. The swinging fist shattered the space, and Whitebeard's body was overflowing with violent shock force. Wave after layer flocked to the sky. Like a long dragon passing by, the entire space is squeezed to both sides. Uchiha Madara, who was in the center of the shock wave, leaned back involuntarily. The black truth-seeking ball condensed into a scepter, twisting under the squeeze of space. Ha 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 ha, this kind of emperor. Uchiha Madara laughed excitedly, with an expression of extreme fanaticism on his face as if he had met his opponent. Even the space can be shattered, breaking through the barriers of the world, this level of power. The presumptuous tone revealed full of arrogance. I, Uchiha Madara, recognize you. In this world, I, Uchiha Madara, would like to recognize you as the strongest. So far, among all the enemies he has encountered, he can feel such a degree of pressure. Whitebeard is still the first. The pitch-black truth-seeking ball condensed into a dull black shield, and the terrifying power of shock penetrated little by little. The shield condensed by the truth-seeking ball burst in waves of terrifying shocks. Uchiha Madara, wrapped in a shield, is revealed. Super. God Luo Tianzheng. The pupils contracted, and the invisible repulsive force expanded outward wantonly. The force of repulsion and shock collided with each other. The entire sea area is in this terrifying fluctuation, boiling like boiling water. When all the fluctuations subside, Uchiha Madara and Whitebeard met each other's eyes, and fell into an eerie silence. Who the hell won? Doubt comes to everyone's mind. Call. Uchiha Madara in the sky suddenly splashed blood. It was like a flat mirror that was suddenly shattered. Dense cracks emerged on Uchiha Madara's body. Dad, did you win? The silent atmosphere suddenly became lively. Marco and the other captains of the Whitebeard pirates had inexplicable expressions of surprise. To be able to defeat one of the three most recognized men in the world, is their father already this powerful? Awe-inspiring power. Uchiha Madara glanced at the scars on her body, and wiped them lightly with her palms, and the scars on her body disappeared instantly at a speed visible to the naked eye. The faces of Marco and others changed slightly. It's okay. Since Dad can beat him once, he can beat him a second time. I don't believe his physical strength is endless. Beat me. Uchiha Madara cast a sideways glance at the group of captains behind Whitebeard. Are you joking? The body fell lightly and came to Whitebeard's boat. Under the nervous eyes of the captains, Uchiha Madara's body brushed past Whitebeard's. He paused slightly, glanced at Marco, and his tone was not serious. Help him collect the body. Collect the corpse. UB***************, what are you talking about, Dad? How is it possible? Marco walked slowly to Whitebeard, trembling. Whitebeard with his eyes closed, his body like a straight javelin, stood on the deck. But the body has already lost the fluctuation of life breath. Bigmom. Uchiha Madara walked slowly to the stern, looking at Bigmom who was confronting Kaido. Now tell me, your choice. Surrender or die. Like the essence, people can feel the oppressive momentum, which shatters the clouds in the sky. It was as if the sky and the earth were falling, and it was oppressing the past towards the front. Under the suffocating pressure, the crazy look in Bigmom's eyes cooled down like a basin of cold water. Glanced at Whitebeard's body. Take another look, Uchiha Madara and Kaido in front of you. One Kaido would have left her helpless, plus a man capable of killing Whitebeard. If she continued to fight, her best end would be to leave a whole body behind. Since the situation where Uchiha Madara unifies the new world is doomed to be inevitable, then her resistance seemed to be meaningless. In the final analysis, pirates are just some egoists who lick blood on the knife edge. Such a thing as death rather than surrender would only happen to a very small number of people like Whitebeard and Luogia. I surrender. As Bigmom's voice fell, the entire battlefield suddenly fell silent. This ended the largest naval battle in the history of the New World. The Battle of the Four Emperors came to an end with Uchiha Madara unifying the New World and becoming the overlord of the New World. Unifying the forces of the Four Emperors also heralds the ownership of the New World. It's really so powerful that people can't resist. In the crowd, Shanks with short wine-red hair looked helpless. In this case, anyone, even he, can only succumb to the power of Uchiha Madara. Uchiha Madara, the head of the Four Emperors, has brought the power of the Four Emperors to rule the world, and it is already unstoppable. Chapter 106 Naval Headquarters 6 Admiral. King of the New World, the Uchiha pirates defeated the allied forces of the Four Emperors and unified the New World. The newspapers were buzzing, and the news spread all over the world. The chaotic New World welcomed its first ruler for the first time. As a paradise for pirates, it is also the base camp for all pirates. Conquering the New World, this is a feat that even Luogia has never accomplished. It's troublesome, the last thing I want to see happened after all. Naval Headquarters, Marineford, Marshal Kong Ji-yu, who had just hung up on 5 elders, had a headache all over his face. Defeated the combined forces of 4 Emperors Whitebeard and Bigmom, engulfing the forces of the 2 giant pirate groups. Today's Uchiha pirates have completely become a threat even bigger than Locks. At least, even the old Locks just dominated the New World. Still some distance away from dominating the New World. A single 4 Emperors faction, the Marine fears no threat. But when the 2 4 Emperors are united, they already have the ability to destroy Marine. The fusion of 4 Emperors level forces is already a huge force that can shake the foundation of world government. Fortunately, there is also the Black Emperor Sea or the junction between New World and Grand Line. Uchiha Madara of New World, if he wants to attack the Grand Line and the world, he needs to defeat the Black Emperor at least first. When 2 tigers fight, one will be injured. Marine can take the opportunity to pick up the leak and take back the New World and the Black Emperor Sea area in one fell swoop. All in all, the development of the situation is somewhat out of the control originally expected by the world government. But in general, the situation where the 3 parties check each other has not been broken. Then now, G8 Fortress. Crane Vice Admiral frowned and said. Let He Xiao evacuate New World first. If he stays there, his life may be in danger. Marshal Kong's tone was a little helpless. Today's New World has been ruled by the Uchiha pirates. Continuing to stay there can only increase casualties for no reason. Therefore, Admiral Black Owl can only be temporarily evacuated from New World. But in this way, Marine completely lost control of New World. The op fruit was snatched by Doflamingo. 5 elders didn't say anything about it. Why did you say it? I don't know, this matter is related to the secrets of celestial dragons, and it is not something we can touch. Marshal Kong shook his head, he was also puzzled by Vice Admiral's question. But this kind of thing is not within their reach. 5 elders was annoyed at the fact that Doflamingo took the op fruit, but they didn't intend to go to war. It shows that although this magic fruit is important to them, it has not reached the level of getting it at all costs. The situation in New World has become a foregone conclusion. Whether it is the world government or other forces, they have already acquiesced to this fact. Zhang Yang was transferred from New World to Naval Headquarters. And the first thing he did when he returned to Naval Headquarters was start the Buster Call and destroy it. Why destroy Ohara? Aren't the people on that island a bunch of scholars? Naval Headquarters, inside the Marshal's office. Aokiji, who was called over, looked puzzled. On the island of Ohara, some unscrupulous scholars tried to study the text of history. This matter is strictly prohibited by the world government, so the supreme commander of the 5 elders decided to implement a Buster Call to Ohara. Marshal Kong Ji-yu looked at the future admirals standing in a row in front of him and said. The disappearing 100-year history is about the establishment of the world government and the secrets that have been hidden all the time. It must not be revealed. In that case, let's go. Sakazuki pressed the brim of his hat, and there seemed to be flames burning in his eyes. This time the task is led by the CP organization, and we just need to follow the arrangement when the time comes. Kong Ji-yu waved his hand and studied the historical text, although this matter is dangerous. But the scholars of Ohara are just a bunch of helpless commoners. Sakazuki, Pelusolino, Kuzan, and Raquel were sent to pre-select Admiral and Black Owl, an Admiral-level powerhouse. It's impossible for anything to go wrong. Warships left naval headquarters. Ohara. Zhang Yang on the bow rubbed his chin, one of the protagonists of the future world. Didn't expect to see it now. He has no interest in Robin, and has no plans to change anything. To put it bluntly, this Buster Call is a vain feat. Help a few pre-selected admirals to be plated with gold, as for the actual effect. It's just a group of scholars, even if you don't ask them, you can't make any trouble. The original intention of the world government is to use this incident to demonstrate the power of marine unification of the new world, domination of Uchiha Madara. 0. Seeking flowers. It has had a great impact on all parts of the world. No matter what the consideration is, the world government needs to add a booster to the countries under his command. This is also the reason why Marshal Kong Guhui promised 5 elders to let the CP organization lead this matter. Boom boom boom. The artillery roared, when the ancient tree that stood for thousands of years was burned in the flames. The splendor that belonged to Ohara came to an end. Aokiji frees Robin, and Akainu destroys the escape boat. And these are just a small episode. Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral Akainu Sakazuki, Kizaru Pelusolino, Aokiji Kuzan, Grizzly Raquel. Promoted to Admiral in the headquarters. At the same time and place, the 4 pre-selected admirals were promoted to admirals. Such a sensational news that even Baujibo Madara's rule of the New World was suppressed. Naval Headquarters 6 Admiral can be said to have created a brilliance that has never been seen in the past century. In any era, this lineup can suppress the entire world. The only pity is that this era does not belong to Marine. The Black Emperor, the king of the 5 seas, wiped out the Holy Land Mariajoy by himself. And Uchiha Madara who suppressed the 3 emperors with iron and blood and unified the entire new world. Among these 2 forces, if anyone is selected, it has the ability to compete with naval headquarters, and even suppress it. This era is destined not to belong to Marine and world government. 6 Admiral, counting Garp, Zephyr, Sengoku, Marshal Kong Gu, naval headquarters, admiral level powerhouse is almost breaking through to double digits. But just relying on this level of power, it is impossible to compare with Uchiha Madara who dominated the New World, and the Black Emperor who occupied the middle and rear of the Grand Line. Even if the Shichibukai are called together, they can barely compete with one of the forces. And the Black Emperor and the Uchiha Pirates, if united together. Then even if all the details of the world government are dispatched, it is impossible to be an opponent. Wanokuni, Kingdom of Knights, the Fishman Island, Revolutionary Army. Unknowingly, the power he possesses has surpassed the accumulation of the world government for thousands of years. Not to mention that among the 6 admiral-level powerhouses in naval headquarters, 3 are spies, and among Shichibukai, more than half are his people. The power that has been developed for many years is finally approaching the harvest season. Chapter 107 The Second Transcendence Awakening. The Uchiha pirates swallowed up the entire New World, at least until they fully digested the New World before peaking at the Grand Line. As for the Dark Emperor, who is between the world government and the Uchiha pirates, naval headquarters is the least likely to launch an attack first because of its geographical location. Therefore, so far, the 3 forces have contained each other, and at least a large-scale war is unlikely to occur in a short period of time. Therefore, the rough sea seems to calm down in an instant. Tread, tread. Faint footsteps sounded from behind. A man in black yuya, covered in blood, half leaned against the wall. The lit ash shakes off, and sparks flicker on the unburned cigarette. Tread, tread. Doflamingo, dressed in pink yuya, walked over slowly with aggressive steps. Corazon, I never thought you would betray me. Seeing Corazon sitting in a pool of blood, half dead, 987, and not alive, under Doflamingo's fancy pink sunglasses, a trace of sadness flashed in his eyes. His relatives, his last and only relatives in this world. It turned out to be a spy of the world government who betrayed him and his family. Where does Op Fruit go? In the light tone, there is a deep indifference. Since he betrayed him and his family, this younger brother has no value to him. Big brother, give up, you will never find that fruit in your life, because he has already been eaten. Ahem. The smile on Corazon's face, coughing blood from the corner of his mouth, showed no timidity. UB asterisk 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 D. The fake smile on Doflamingo's face slowly disappeared. Did Luo eat it? Even if you guessed it, so what, I have already sent him out of this island, you are destined not to get that fruit. Corazon's expression changed, and he said in a nonchalant tone. Then you, just die, my dear brother. Doflamingo took out a pistol from his waist and slowly pointed it at Corazon. Boom. Fire spit. The bullet pierced through Corazon's body, spattering a spray of blood behind him. In the corner of the shadow, a pair of eyes witnessed all this, and slowly shed tears. The hateful eyes seemed to want to engrave this figure firmly in his heart. Doflamingo, I must kill you. You said you would work for me. Alabasta, who was feeding the crocodiles, stared blankly at the young girl in front of him. He is no stranger to this face, Nico Robin, the most wanted criminal of the world government. However, at the age of less than 10 years old, there are tens of millions of rewards. Called the son of the devil. The important criminal wanted by the world government came to him on his own initiative, and made a request to work for him. It's really interesting. Narrowing his eyes slightly, Clock Doll slowly stretched out 3 fingers. You have 3 minutes to convince me. If you can't impress me in 3 minutes, as the price of wasting 3 minutes of my time, I will let you feed the crocodile. Stared at by those cruel eyes full of oppression. There was a thin layer of cold sweat on Robin's forehead. Since Buster Call, the turnaround has been repeated between countless pirate groups and forces, betraying others and being betrayed by others countless times. She is no longer the innocent girl she used to be. Knowing that this man in front of him is feared by countless people, he will definitely do what he says. Biting his lower lip, Robin's sigh said, I know your identity and your purpose. Oh, tell me, you still have 2.5 minutes. The movement in Lock Doll's hands paused slightly. From the corner of the eye, he cast a glance at this young girl, with an interesting expression on her face. His identity and his purpose. He really wanted to know. You belong to the Black Emperor. Robin said solemnly, one of the 7 warlords of the sea, Lock Dar, turned out to be a member of the Black Emperor. When she raised this possibility through various clues, she was also taken aback. But that's why she came to Lock Doll. Only the Black Emperor, who is against the world government, will accept her as a criminal wanted by the world government. And there is enough power to keep her safe. The smile on Locke's face gradually disappeared, and the eyes that looked at Robin gradually became dangerous. Tell me, who told you? Swish. Suddenly appearing in front of Robin's eyes, Lock Doll was filled with a tyrannical aura. Grabbing Robin's neck with one hand, his indifferent eyes looked like a cold-blooded crocodile. There are thousands of thoughts in my mind. This woman knows his purpose. Does it mean that he has been exposed? I guessed it myself. I can help you develop your power. Robin, who was held by the neck, said with a difficult tone, never thought that Lock Doll's reaction would be so intense. You, what can you do for me? Lock Doll's tone was a little mocking. A child, and a child with no combat effectiveness. He actually said that he could help him develop his power. Does he look like such a fool? Just because I can guess that you are under the Black Emperor, but you didn't tell the world government, you should give me a chance to show my ability. Nico Robin struggled in pain, staring into Lock's eyes. Lock Doll was silent for a moment. If what you say is true, I can give you this chance. But remember, there was a cruel look in the slightly squinted eyes. If you deceive me, I will let you know what is more painful than death. It's finally gathered. In the concealer's laboratory, look at the devil fruits placed on the table one by one in front of you. Zhang Yang's eyes shone with excitement. What is behind the obstacle? There seemed to be small hands caressing her body. When the medicinal bath turned transparent, Zhang Yang slowly opened his eyes. It's something to look forward to. I don't know what kind of reaction will happen if I take 2 different kinds of potions with different fruits beyond awakening at the same time. Unlike the pain of absorbing the medicine for the first time, the process of absorbing the medicine for the second time was very smooth. The only thing I know is, I don't know what happened to Aizen's gravity. After pouring the prepared medicine into the tub, Zhang Yang took off his 3.9 clothes and jumped into the tub. It may be beyond the boundary between humans and gods, or it may be a higher dimensional existence. It's just that there is still a little help from breaking through that barrier. Almost. Whispering to himself, he could feel that he had vaguely touched something. Although the process was difficult, the materials were finally collected. His eyes narrowed slightly, and he suddenly looked into the distance. To collect all 100 zones devil fruit, he paid a huge price. Skillfully prepared the preparatory work of dispensing medicine. If he can break through that layer of barriers, then he may see a brand new world. Chapter 108 Shikai. Kyoka Suigetsu. Naval Headquarters, Marineford. Overlooking the majestic and wide Marineford, the eyes under Aizen's glasses flickered slightly. The body flew down and came to the shore of the pier. Who? Trespassing Naval Headquarters. A stern shout sounded from behind, and Aizen turned his head slightly. A Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral, wearing a general's cloak, galloped over with a solemn face, police and hostility written all over his face. The corners of the mouth curled up. Slowly pulled out the long knife with a light green handle at his waist, held the knife in his backhand, with the tip of the knife facing down, and the light on the blade flickered slightly. Open the corners of your mouth lightly, and whisper in your mouth. Shikai Kyoka Suigetsu. Looking at Aizen's Vice Admiral with a vigilant expression, his eyes suddenly widened, as if he saw something shocking. Uchiha pirates. On the shore of the ship, pirate ships emerged one after another, and the familiar flag was clearly the Uchiha pirates who ruled the new world. The Uchiha pirates attack. Everyone is on alert. The panicked roar immediately attracted the attention of the surrounding Marines. The Uchiha pirates attack Naval Headquarters. Really? Did they ignore the Black Emperor? Difficult 07 is not afraid of the Black Emperor sitting on the mountain and watching the tigers fight. A pair of eyes looked at the direction of the sound at the same time. An upside-down long knife came into his eyes, and in a trance, something seemed to flash in his mind. Uchiha pirates really attacked Marineford. The atmosphere of panic spread, and when the first gunshot sounded, the entire coast instantly turned into a purgatory-like scene. Gunfire, cannon fire, flames splatter, blood sprays. Everyone is killing everything around them like crazy. The fight between ants is really sad sometimes. Aizen had a hypocritical smile on his face, and looked indifferently at the fighting Marines lying in a pool of blood. There is no pity, and no sympathy. Do people feel sad when they see the fighting between ants? No, people will only show hypocritical sympathy when things hurt their own kind. A few tears will be shed hypocritically because of the death of the beast. But they don't pay attention to those ants that won't be noticed even if they are trampled to death. And in his Aizen's eyes, only those powerful men can arouse his interest. Walk slowly towards the center of Naval Headquarters. Under the upside-down Kyoka Suigetsu, everything you pass will turn into a sea of blood and corpses. The crowd who fought in a pile unconsciously left a gap for people to pass through. Aizen, stepping over corpse after corpse, quickly saw his target. Standing in the center of the square, the majestic and magnificent marine building. Marshal Kongu, although he has no interest in you, but since that lord ordered him, he can only send you to die. Aizen looked casually at the marine building, the powerful observation haki made him feel several powerful auras. The current situation in Four Seas and Grand Line is not stable, and naturally most of the admiral-level powerhouses have been dispatched. There are only 3 admiral-level powerhouses remaining in naval headquarters. Admiral of Headquarters Sengoku, Hero Garp, Field Marshal Kongu, and Digital Vice Admiral. However, this is exactly what he wants to see. If he meets the main body and those spies from naval headquarters, this good show will be difficult to continue. The Captain Howery on his body, like a butterfly cocoon, transformed into a white robe at a speed visible to the naked eye. The turbid articles faintly revealed, the unruly and arrogant talents, the tide, the negation, the paralysis, the momentary hindrance to eternal sleep, the crawling iron princess, the clay dolls who constantly self-mutilate, the combination and rebound extended to the ground, knowing their own powerlessness go. Hado no 90. Black coffin. Stretching out his hands, a black and deep power like ink emerged from behind. That deep and vast power seems to be facing the abyss and purgatory. The power of terror enveloped the core area of the entire naval headquarters. Dark curtains rise from all sides, like a dead coffin connecting the heaven and the earth, and the violent power spreads in black coffin. That is the power that can make everything die. Why is it so noisy outside? In the marshal's office, Sora, who was discussing things with Sengoku, frowned. The noise outside was getting louder and louder, and it was accompanied by a strong and pungent smell of blood. It inexplicably made him feel bad. Maybe there is some kind of conflict. Sengoku frowned and said, the idea of Marineford being invaded simply did not enter the mind. This is the base camp of Marine, except for the 2 big troubles, the Black Emperor and Uchiha Madara, who would dare to approach. What a bunch of lawless kids. Kong Ji-yu rubbed his heart with some headaches, observation haki spread outward. Wanted to see what B*********** D was making such a fuss at naval headquarters. This feeling. Garp, who was eating senbei in the corner, suddenly raised his head and looked out the window. Immediately afterwards, Marshal Kongu and Admiral Sengoku also raised their heads at the same time, their bodies tensed, and their hairs stood up. A sense of crisis that makes one's body creepy and the blood is about to stand still welled up in his heart. Everyone, get out of the building. Garp's gruff voice filled the marine building. The 3 naval headquarters, highest combat powers threw away what they were doing without looking, and directly broke out of the window. Boom. The violent power spread behind them, and the 3 people who had just escaped from the marine building and fled desperately for their lives passed through the closed black curtain by a hair's breadth. It's over. Looking at the marine building completely shrouded in shady scenes, the craftsman Kong Ji-yu was so angry that he was about to tear up. With this level of strength, not to mention some vice admirals, even admiral-level powerhouses would suffer heavy casualties. Who did it? The 3 of Sengoku glanced around, and saw Aizen who didn't fit in with the chaotic crowd of 117 at a glance. Holding the handle of the knife with the backhand, the tip of the knife hangs down. A few eyes met, Aizen showed a hypocritical smile on his face. First time meeting, let me introduce myself, Aizen. An unknown person. UB ************* D. Why did you do such a thing? Sengoku's figure flickered, and he came to Aizen in an instant. He raised his fist angrily and hit Aizen directly on the chest. Boom. A powerful force erupted from the wrist-covering armament haki. Sengoku, what are you doing? A surprised and angry roar sounded from behind. The sight in front of him was completely distorted. A rear admiral wearing a marine general's cloak was killed by Sengoku's punch. How come? Sengoku's face suddenly turned pale. He just attacked that strange man. Mind-affecting manipulation Paramesha devil fruit. Garp's eyes are a little serious. He glanced at the Marines who were fighting. If he couldn't solve this guy quickly, there will be big trouble. Since what the eyes see can't be taken seriously, what about haki? Garp slowly closed his eyes, observation haki expanded. Within the range of perception, 100 meters in front of Sengoku, there is a strange aura hidden. Weak but powerful and frightening. Found it. Chapter 109. Do it yourself. Crack down on Marineford. The guy who hides his head and shows his tail. Come out. The pitch-black iron fist bombarded the empty void. In an instant, ripples appeared in front of his eyes like water waves. The space was shattered like a mirror, and Aizen, who revealed his figure, looked at Garp with a little surprise. It's not bad that mere ants can find me. But with such weak strength, you also want to defeat me. Do you have any misunderstanding of my strength? Aizen looked indifferently as if looking at a dead person. A flat tone without any ups and downs, and a look of contempt that treats all beings like ants. A terrifying aura brewed on him. A strand of hair on the forehead is slightly undulating. Aizen, who blocked Garp's fist with a knife, swung the knife casually. Sword pressure. Slashing forward, like the wrath of heaven. The terrifying coercion spread, and the surrounding air flowed back as if being evacuated, and flew out towards the front. In an instant, Garp's body collapsed and flew out. What a terrifying power. With trembling fists, Garp looked at the man in white with palpitations. This knife almost broke his armament haki, which had been tempered for thousands of years. Is this guy really human? The power that ants think they are powerful, in the eyes of giants, they are just praying mantises wielding sickles. It only takes one sword to kill the existence. The corners of Aizen's mouth raised slightly, and the hypocritical smirk on his face disappeared. Giants feel pity for beasts, but not for ants. Because they are too small. However, you can arouse my interest a little bit. Aizen walked forward slowly, and the wavy ripples under his feet slowly spread. Just use a little bit of real strength to deal with you. The 6 wings of brilliance and blur gather behind, and the light flickers, and Aizen's body disappears instantly at a speed that neither the naked eye nor observation haki can detect. Then it appeared in front of Garp again. Don't die, interesting human. Cut it out. The violent momentum rises. The hairs all over Garp's body stood up one by one. This feeling made him seem to return to the moment when he was wandering between life and death when he first joined the marine and encountered a big pirate with a bounty of over 100 million. That was definitely the most dangerous time in his life. When the tip of the knife passed through his chest, he even felt that he was only one step away from death. And it's the same this time. The cold blade grazed his chest, and the fine and dense slashes tore Garp's clothes to pieces. Just relying on the aftermath of one knife, he could smell the breath of death. Garp backquote. There was a roar from behind, and Sengoku, who was filled with golden Buddha light, clapped his hairy arms forward. Big bergamot. Layers upon layers of shock waves are like waves crashing against the waves. The translucent shock wave filled with golden light smashed straight forward. Playing illusions in front of me. Aizen glanced behind him out of the corner of his eye. Mental influence, disturbance of perception, the shock wave that seems to come from the front, is actually coming from the left. Single shield. The dense Reiatsu burst out in an instant, condensing into a glass-like transparent shield. Boom. The terrifying shock wave, like the substance, spreads around in a ring shape. Under the influence of the shock wave, the hard ground of naval headquarters was turned up inch by inch. Only to this extent. The smoke dissipated, and Aizen, unscathed, held the Zanpakuto with a cat-and-mouse look on his face. Can give him a little pressure compared to Garp. Sengoku, who was also at the peak admiral level, didn't even make him feel the slightest undetectable danger. In other words, apart from Garp among the 3, the remaining 2 couldn't even break through his minimum defense. A gleam of indifference flashed across Aizen's eyes. This kind of enemy who can't even lift his spirits is really boring. Sengoku, calm down, you alone are no match for him. Marshal Kongu glanced at Sengoku who was about to move, and said in a dignified voice. This guy is the same as Uchiha Madara. No, it's a more terrifying monster than Uchiha Madara. Garp, who took the opportunity to escape, said while clutching his bloody chest. Having fought against Uchiha Madara, he can clearly feel that the man in front of him has a more powerful force than Uchiha Madara. From the beginning to the present, this man has been just teasing a few of them. That kind of power that is not at a dimensional level at all really made him feel hopeless. The gap between man and God. God. With this level of power, the only thing Garp can think of is God. If the 2 of you only have this level of strength. Kyoka Suigetsu in Aizen's hand slowly disappeared and merged into the body, and the body twisted and changed like a ball of water. There was an extra eye-like slit on the forehead, the face turned black, and the facial skin was torn from the middle and located on both sides of the black face. 3 holes appear in the upper body, and Zanpakuto is fused with the right hand. The original 6 huge butterfly wings, each with a skeleton, growing out of the wing ridge. The violent aura on his body crushed the entire void in an instant. Ka ka ka. The surrounding sky seemed to be unable to bear his strength, and was shattered bit by bit. Tread. With every step forward, the aura on Aizen will become stronger. The overwhelming absolute power makes it impossible to breathe. This kind of power is far more terrifying than imagined. Swish. Without any warning, the figure disappeared in place in an instant. In the next second, it flashed in front of Marshal Kong Ji. There was a calm tone in Aizen's cold voice. Then, go to hell. The flickering light spots in the mouth of the skeleton behind converged. Radiation break. Hum. The blue light gathers together and shoots out like a laser. The trembling breath spread, and wherever the light passed, everything was shattered under this terrifying force. The Marshal Kongu with wide-eyed eyes opened his mouth. Without even a chance to resist, the body slowly decomposes like a broken bubble. Rumble. The belated explosion sounded, the waves rolled, and the terrifying storm raged so hard that people couldn't keep their eyes open. With Aizen as the center, half of Marineford and the entire sea area with a radius of tens of kilometers was destroyed by the explosion. Next, it's your turn. You use Gei's turn to the stunned Sengoku. Garp, run. Don't look back. Sengoku let out a roar, and golden light burst out all over his body. He took the initiative to greet him. An enemy of this level is absolutely invincible. Since it is impossible for both of them to escape, let the one with the strongest combat power survive. Between life and death, there is a choice. And his choice is to delay this man at the cost of his own sacrifice. Give Garp a chance to live. Sengoku. A bloodshot flashed in Garp's staring eyes, and a trace of hesitation flashed in his eyes, before he turned and fled from Marineford. He can't die yet. The chance that Sengoku held back at the cost of death cannot just be wasted like this. He had to take this important news out of Joe. A monster that can fight against 3 peak admiral level powerhouses alone, this matter must make the world government vigilant. Chapter 110 Naval Headquarters Marshal. Black Owl. Amidst the dull roar, Naval Headquarters Marineford turned into ruins. Sacrificing oneself for others, it's really a spirit of selfless dedication. Aizen held the dead body of Admiral Sengoku in his hands, with a fake smile on his face. But what if ants block the car? Want to stop him on your own? The wish is good, but unfortunately the strength is a little bit worse. Fighting to the death only blocked his time of 10 breaths. Unfortunately, one ran away, but it doesn't matter. Glancing at Garp who had disappeared over the sea, though ran one. But his mission this time wasn't supposed to include Garp either. Killing Marshal Kongu and Admiral Sengoku is his main purpose this time. Garp is just an optional extra for him. This kind of ants would run away as soon as they ran, and he didn't bother to chase them down. It wasn't worth his wasting energy at all. There has been such a big commotion, and then it will disappear for a while. Like garbage, he threw away the corpse in his hand. Aizen looked in one direction, his body flickered, and disappeared into the sky in an instant. His first phase of the task has been completed, and the next thing is to wait for the opportunity. Complete subsequent goals. Now is not the time. Soragu and Sengoku are dead 090. What do you think of this matter? 1 against 3, beheaded Kong Ji-yu and Sengoku, this level of strength. It is not an exaggeration to say that it is a god. Holy Land, Mariajoy. Between the broken Holy Land and a straight canyon, the long river flows and the waves roll. In the huge palace standing on the top of the canyon, the 5 elders gathered together, discussing matters with solemn faces. Single-handedly destroyed Naval Headquarters Marineford. 2 of the 3 peak admiral level combat powers fell, and only Garp escaped. Naval Headquarters Marineford completely disappeared. This loss is second only to the scene where the Black Emperor destroyed the Holy Land Mariajoy. Tens of thousands of Marines died at the bottom of the sea. Compared with these insignificant losses, the deaths of Sengoku and Kongu are unacceptable pain for the world government. It can be said that it hurts muscles and bones. How long will it take for the world government to develop an admiral-level combat power? 10 years or 20 years? Even after countless painstaking efforts, the bamboo basket fetched water in vain. And the peak admiral-level combat power can no longer be cultivated simply. Only talent, hard work, opportunity, all in one genius like Garp. Only then have the opportunity to take these AHBH 10 steps. In the past 100 years, how many peak admirals have been cultivated by all the forces under the world government? It can be said that there are less than 20. And now 2 of them died at once. What's going on? Why are there so many inexplicable strong men out of thin air? The middle-aged 5 elders, holding a knife in his arms, rubbed his forehead with a depressed tone. Until their succession, the sea has been turbulent. With only one marine, all the forces against the world government can be suppressed breathlessly. The only big trouble, the Locks pirates, was besieged and completely suppressed by marine before it developed. But since they took over the 5 elders' position, the sea seemed to be turned upside down. First the Dark Emperor slays the Celestial Dragons, repelling Buster Call single-handedly. The Black Emperor Sea area has become a restricted area of the world government. The Holy Land of Mariajoy was shattered. The clan bloodlines of several celestial dragons were completely severed. Then Luo Jia came to be king, and the forces of pirates all over the world flooded, and the forces of marine had to retreat to the outside of New World. I thought that the whole world would temporarily settle down in a chaotic situation. As a result, New World was once again unified by the Uchiha pirates, facing the world government across the sea. Now another unknown man has appeared, single-handedly suppressing the entire naval headquarters. 3 peak admiral-level fighters, 2 dead and 1 seriously injured. Since the establishment of the world government, the difficulties and setbacks it has suffered are not as many as what happened in just a few years. The 5 of them are like a catastrophe coming to the world, they almost wiped out the entire world government. How can this situation not be a headache? It's too late to say anything now. People who die can't be resurrected. Although the death of Sengoku and Kongu is a huge loss to marine and world government, naval headquarters cannot be left without people. The curly-haired 5 elders spoke heavily. Naval headquarters was breached, and the marshal and admiral were all killed. It is impossible to suppress such a bad influence. Now they can only think of ways to calm the situation as much as possible and let the impact of this incident be suppressed. The news has already spread, and now the whole world is in a state of panic, and all the countries that have joined the Grand Line have called to inquire, trying to figure out a solution. The bearded 5 elders pondered for a moment, then continued. First, the new Marine Marshal must be selected as soon as possible. The current options are limited. Garp is seriously injured, and has always refused to be promoted to Admiral, so the successor of Marshal Marine must be selected from among the several admirals in office. In terms of qualifications, Admiral Black Owl is the most suitable. At least the top admiral-level combat power is enough to convince the crowd, but his temper is too aggressive. The blonde 5 elders stroked the stubble on his chin and offered his options. I feel that Sakazuki is good and ambitious. Although he is not as strong as Heishao, he is loyal enough. The only shortcoming is that he is too aggressive. This kind of personality is okay in normal times, but in the current situation of 4 Seas and Grand Line, if it is too aggressive, it will always let Marine enter the city's Jamuji Dishi. A group of 5 elders hold their own. After more than half an hour of careful discussion, the minority obeyed the majority and stopped the discussion. Since everyone has no opinion, let's settle this matter. Naval Headquarters Marineford was destroyed, and the new naval headquarters moved to the second half of the Holy Land Mariajoy, and the position of Marine Marshal was succeeded by Admiral Black Owl. Send the document to the Supreme Commander of the World Government, and hold the promotion ceremony as quickly as possible. As for the new reward order, let's set it at 12 billion Baileys. Quote. With one's own strength, against the 3-peak Admiral level combat power, kill 2 and injure 1. Destroyed the entire naval headquarters, and killed tens of thousands of Marine soldiers. The impact is extremely bad, although the reward amount of 12 billion Bailey is exaggerated. But it is not unacceptable. Anyway, 5 elders didn't think anyone could complete this reward order at all. A monster that can fight against 3 Admiral peak level powerhouses with his own strength. If there is one person who can be defeated, it is probably only the mysterious Black Emperor. But the question is, could the Dark Emperor possibly work for the world government? You might as well say that the Dark Emperor can be the naval headquarters marshal. Admiral of Headquarters Black Owl's order to be promoted to naval headquarters marshal spread throughout the world in less than 3 days. For a time, some people are happy, some people are worried. Damn it, this guy took another step forward. Looking at the message in his hand, Sakazuki slapped the table. Hot magma ignited on his body, and the terrifying high temperature instantly burned the entire newspaper to ashes. It's scary, I didn't expect to become a Marine Marshal so soon. Poseidon spoke in a slow tone, with a lazy expression showing no emotion, but he couldn't help but clenched his fingers slightly. Marshal Marine. Raquel looked at the newspaper with a calm expression, as if he just saw a very normal thing. Chapter 111 Revolutionary King Luffy. I've come to this point before I know it. Should I say congratulations? Or should I fear you? Drago looked at Zhang Yang with complicated eyes. An ordinary Marine soldier at the beginning, he was recruited into the elite training camp only because of Devil Fruit's special ability. Nothing but fruit power. Now he has climbed to the position of Marshal of Marine, he has become the maker of the rules, and the top figure in the world government rights system. If not as expected, after this man retires, he can naturally become the supreme commander of the world government. And taking it a step further are the 5 elders, which no one but the celestial dragons can take on. It starts at the end of the earth and goes straight into the dark. And all this in just a few years. Such a life, if compiled into a book, would be a legend. Can be heard as a story, no one will believe it, kind of. Marshal Marine in his early 20s, it feels outrageous to say such a thing. You, the leader of the Revolutionary Army, shouldn't come to me just to express the sigh in your heart. Zhang Yang, who was sitting at the base of the fortress, glanced at Drago, lowered his head and continued to deal with his own affairs. Although the transfer order for his promotion to Marine Marshal has been issued. But Naval Headquarters Marineford has been destroyed, and the new Naval Headquarters is being rebuilt. His promotion ceremony will only be carried out after the new Naval Headquarters is established. Of course, this is only a matter of timing. And what he is dealing with now are some confidential elements of Naval Headquarters. These documents are related to some secrets of the world government, and only Marshal Marine is eligible to preview them. I want to ask you something. Drago slightly restrained the expression on his face. Please, what is it? Zhang Yang's movements paused slightly, and he looked up at Drago. What can this guy do with him? If you want me to use my power to help you do something, then you are a bit early now. Although he is already the Marshal of Naval Headquarters scheduled by 5 elders, he has not officially succeeded to the throne after all. Although you can enjoy the privileges of some Marine Marshals in advance. But compared with the real Marshal Marine, it is still far behind. At the very least, if he wants to mobilize Admiral-level powerhouses, such as Sakazuki, he can directly refute him in person. Of course, fishers like Kuzan and Poseidon who are lazy and like to live in mud will give some face. But how much sincerity is there in this face, then maybe? No, the development of the Revolutionary Army is on the right track, and it only needs enough time to grow a little bit. What I want to ask you now is another thing. Drago shook his head, looking at Zhang Yang with an imperceptible taboo in his eyes. After seeing each other for many days, this man was more dangerous than before, which made him feel scared and strange. That feeling is like a crocodile living under a deep pool, peeping at the world with a kind of cold eyes. Everything in sight is its prey. If it wasn't necessary, he didn't want to take the initiative to have anything to do with this dangerous man. Especially about the Revolutionary Army. Although, the man himself was one of the creators of the Revolutionary Army. Then what do you want me to do for you? Zhang Yang tapped the table indistinctly with his fingers, not paying attention to Drago's indistinct resistance. The existence of the Revolutionary Army is not indispensable to him. The power he now possesses is enough to replace the world government, and a developing Revolutionary Army is simply not in his eyes. And, do you really think he knows nothing about the Revolutionary Army? The Revolutionary Army forces that Duo Lage thinks to be impregnable have long been penetrated by his all-seeing eyes and are riddled with holes. Whether it is the intelligence personnel of the all-seeing eye or the underground forces of Doflamingo. If the Revolutionary Army wants to develop and grow in the land of the world and the Grand Line, it is absolutely necessary to contact these two forces. Otherwise, how much weapons, equipment, and food can be obtained by relying on Drago's influence? Leaving the power of the Black Emperor, relying on the power of the Revolutionary Army, he has long been hiding his head and showing his tail like a dog under the siege of the world government. His control and understanding of the Revolutionary Army is far more than that of the apparent leader, Drago. It can be said that if he thinks about it now, a single thought can cause the revolutionary army to fall apart in an instant. I want to ask you to take care of my son. Dorag said. Your son. You have a son. Zhang Yang looked up at Drago, with a hint of surprise in his eyes. I don't know if it's an illusion, but Drago feels that Zhang Yang seems to be particularly interested in his son. Yeah, his name is Monkey D. Luffy, and he was supposed to be disciplined by my father, but. Dorag's expression was a little worried. Naval Headquarters Marineford was destroyed, 2 of the 3 peak admirals were killed and 1 was seriously injured. He didn't know what was going on with his father Garp. 0. Seeking flowers. 0. The development of the revolutionary army is at a critical period, and he can't get away now. And it's too risky to let Luffy follow the revolutionary army. No one knows if they will be exposed one day and be approached by the lackeys of the world government. Therefore, this child cannot be handed over to the people of the revolutionary army to raise him. But it cannot be cultivated by ordinary people. No matter what kind of genius, if there is no way to get strict training from an early age, it can only annihilate everyone. Drago, who is used to the darkness of this world, knows the sadness of the weak better than anyone else. As a father, he naturally has to think about his children. So, I want to ask you to take care of Luffy. Let me help you take care of your son. Zhang Yang frowned, thought for a moment and nodded. Yes, but are you so relieved of me? 0. Zhang Yang looked at Drago with great interest. This guy was really interesting. While guarding against him, he handed his son over to him to take care of him. What is this? Schizophrenia. We have the same philosophy and goals, and we are like-minded comrades on the same road. Of course I believe in you. Become the revolutionary king who overthrows the world government. Zhang Yang smiled indifferently, the future protagonist, it is quite interesting to think about. This goal is too low, it is better to increase the difficulty for him. If he had to choose between his loved ones and his ideals, he would definitely choose the latter without hesitation. Dorag said righteously. This can be seen from the fact that he can hand over his son to Zhang Yang, but he is unwilling to let Zhang Yang interfere in the affairs of the revolutionary army. But the revolutionary army developed by his life's painstaking efforts must not cause problems. Things like a son are gone, and it's no big deal if the father dies. He will think about his family, but only if the existence of these family members will not affect his ideals and goals. This guy, Dorag, is a pure idealist, and he values ideals and goals more than his own relatives. The corner of Zhang Yang's mouth twitched. I also believed in your ghost. I don't know how this future miraculous flower will show a different style in his hands. Since you trust me so much, then send the child here. Martyrs, how merciless. Become one piece. Monkey D. Luffy, King of Revolution, I really look forward to it when I think about it. Just set a small goal first. And Monkey D. Drago is a complete martyr. Chapter 112 Shanks, Bullet. The battle between the old and the new. The banquet bar, this is it. Looking up at the bar in front of him, Kasho narrowed his eyes slightly. He stretched out his hand and pushed open the door of the bar, and a lively atmosphere came over his face in an instant. Makino, have another shot of rum. Really, the captain drinks so slowly, how about raising fish? The small tavern was jam-packed. A group of pirates is holding a banquet in full swing. Crunch, suddenly remembered the sound of pushing the door, making a group of pirates stop their movements. They looked in the direction of the door in unison. A man in metal armor and a steel mask walked in slowly step by step with heavy steps. Black Knight, Cashew. The crowd was silent for a few seconds. A voice suddenly sounded. Kasho turned his expressionless eyes to the direction from which the voice came. Red-haired Shanks, captain of the 5th division of the Uchiha Madara pirates, why are you here? There was no slight ups and downs in the expressionless, 627, eyes. As admiral under the Black Emperor, his combat strength comparable to that of the top admiral makes him fearless of anyone's threats. He looked away from Shanks. His purpose this time was not to trouble Shanks. The Black Emperor and Uchiha Madara have no intention of going to war right now. Of course, if there is a war, they, the Black Emperor's subordinates, will not be afraid of Uchiha Madara. The title of the strongest in the millennium is not blown out. Even Uchiha Madara, who crosses the new world, is far behind the Black Emperor in terms of prestige and strength. I'm looking for a woman named Makino. His eyes scanned and gathered on a young girl with dark green hair. This was the only woman in the whole bar room. A girl holds a child in her arms. This is Monkey D. Luffy, the son of revolutionary Drago, right? Although the mouth is asking, but the tone is very sure. Miss Makino, I am entrusted by Mr. Drago to take this child away, please give him to me. With a blunt tone, Kasho reached out and grabbed the child in Makino's arms. Even if you say so, this child cannot be handed over to you. Makino dodges Cashew's palm. Mr. Dorag asked me to take care of Luffy. Unless Mr. Dorag comes in person, I can't give it to you. Cashew frowned slightly on Makino's stubborn expression. I swear on the reputation of the Black Emperor, I am indeed entrusted by Mr. Dorag to take this child away. Miss Makino, don't make things difficult for me. Makino's difficulty caused Kasho some headaches. The knightly virtue education he had received since he was a child made him unable to take action against a weak woman who had no power to restrain a chicken. However, the things that adults personally explain must also be completed. For a moment there was a struggle between virtue and loyalty. Kashew's eyes gradually calmed down. If that's the case, I'll offend you, Miss Makino. Since persuasion is useless, it can only be forced. The ground undulates, the wave of liquefied metal rolls and spreads, and the cleansing ripples quickly roll towards Makino's body. In the blink of an eye, the helpless Makino was surrounded by layers of metal seas. The soft metal turned into a huge palm, holding Makino's body. If you shoot at my friend, I can't treat it as invisible. A cold voice sounded from behind. A huge slash tore through the air and struck from one side. Clang! The liquefied metal instantly condensed into a shield behind him. The powerful slash and shield collided together. A hole was torn in the shield, and the power of the slash was completely wiped out. Red Hair Shanks, does the Uchiha Madara pirates want to fight the Black Emperor? Kasho turned around with cold eyes, and slowly glanced at Shanks who was holding a long knife behind him. He can ignore a woman who is powerless. But the Admiral-level powerhouse belonging to another force took the initiative to attack him. This was undoubtedly provoking the majesty of the Black Emperor. I don't mean to fight the Black Emperor, just as I can't represent the Uchiha pirates, you can't represent the Black Emperor either. Shanks gently pressed the straw hat on top of his head. From the corner of the eye, he glanced at the crew members who were about to move behind them. Makino is my friend, and the relationship between me and Kasho is a personal one, and no one is allowed to take action. He is now the captain of the Uchiha Madara pirates. What he represents outside is the face of the Uchiha Madara pirates. Fighting with the Black Emperor's subordinates for the sake of friends is a personal grievance. But if other people also get involved in this matter, that means something completely different. A crew member of the Uchiha Madara pirates, a senior cadre under the Black Emperor. Even if it is to save face, the Black Emperor will definitely have to have a fight with Uchiha Madara. Whether it's the Black Emperor or Uchiha Madara, the foundation for them to gain a foothold in this sea, besides strength, is also the majesty that no one can touch. The dragon has reverse scales, touch them. Then we have to deal with you first. Kasho moved his muscles and bones, and there was no carelessness in his eyes. The captain of the Uchiha pirates, there is no one who is easy to get along with. Kaido, Big Mom. These former 4 emperors, and now the captain of the Uchiha pirate team, each of them is a well-known peak powerhouse in this ocean. Red-haired Shanks is certainly not an underdog. At least it is also the combat power of the top admiral level. Boom. 2 distinct strands of Conqueror's haki spread like substance. The terrifying coercion made the entire bar crumble. The translucent aura formed by the condensed red and black haki confronts each other, with one left and one right clearly distinguished. 2 admiral-level powerhouses who have the qualifications of a king in a million, the collision between the momentum, this kind of scene is hardly seen even in the New World a few times. This level of strength is not something you can bear. Makino, with a blank mind, was pulled behind by Ben Beckman, who was smoking a cigar. Next, leave it all to our captain. Looking into the battlefield, Ben Beckman's eyes were calm. Ben Beckman never had the slightest doubt about Shanks' ability. If so, who else in this world can defeat him? Perhaps there are only those 4 supreme beings who are like gods and stand at the top of the world's combat power. The leather shoes rubbed against the floor, and the creaking sound of trampling was like stepping on the heart, making people suffocate. The corners of Bullet's mouth turned up slightly. In addition, even if it is a powerhouse at the 4 emperors level, it is impossible to say that it can defeat Shanks 100%. The heir of the devil. Bullet. When he was a member of the Luogia pirates, he heard the deputy captain Rayleigh mention this man who could be on par with him more than once. Amidst the sound of wind chimes, a man with a headset, wearing a black military uniform, a muscular figure, and an unruly face walked in slowly with heavy steps. The Black Emperor, Poros, Uchiha Madara, and the unknown mysterious man who suppressed the entire naval headquarters by himself. Then, I'll leave it to you. This level of courage is indeed terrifying. It's been a long time since I met such an interesting opponent, Kasho, how about leaving him to me? The smell of gunpowder in the bar gradually became stronger, just when the atmosphere was so serious that it was about to explode. 4.1. The door of the bar was pushed open. Cashew, you seem to be in some trouble. The boiling breath on Kasho's body paused slightly. The violent breath gradually subsided, and he walked past Bullet silently. If I remember correctly, you should be the newcomer on Luogia's boat. Shanks' expression turned serious. Slowly take off the gloves on your hands. Chapter 113 Red-haired Shanks v Bullet. Let me see how good you are, the crew of the Luogia pirates. Bullet tilted his neck and slowly took off the white gloves on his hands. The pervasive armament haki, mixed with Conqueror's haki and evil ghost breath, burns on the body surface like a flame. For a moment, Bullet with a wanton smile on his face was like a devil walking out of hell. There was a violent and presumptuous breath all over his body. This breath was so powerful that Shanks' expression became serious in an instant. Admiral Pinnacle. Definitely Admiral's pinnacle combat power. The former Luogia pirates, the man who can compete with Pluton Rayleigh, is stronger than ever. I heard from the captain that your goal has always been to surpass him, and now it seems that you have caught up with him. Slowly pulled out the saber from his waist. Luogia. It's such an unforgettable and unfamiliar name. If I hadn't met you, I might have forgotten him. Bullet looked at Shanks, a flash of nostalgia in his eyes. In 2007, my goal was to catch up with him. At that time, I thought he would be the most powerful man in the world. If I surpassed him, I would become the strongest man in the world. This is also the goal I have been working hard for since I went to sea. But it wasn't until I met that man that I realized that the world is much wider than I imagined. Luo Jia may be strong, but he is not enough. Stand taller and see farther. The more you know, the more you will understand that the world is not as simple as imagined. He used to think that the peak admiral was the limit of this world. But when he got to this position, he realized that the peak admiral was just a start. On top of that, there is another realm that people cannot peak at, let alone go beyond. Only when he realized this did he realize how ridiculous it was to surpass Luo Jia and become the strongest in the world that he once pursued. Luo Jia is very strong, but if compared with those who stand at the top of this world, it's too far off. His goal has long since ceased to surpass Luo Jia. Chasing after a strong man of Poros level is his current goal. Boom. The condensed armor of metal parts covered the arms, filled with rich armament hockey, and collided with the sharp blade. The terrifying Yu Wei instantly destroyed a corner of the bar. Shanks parried Bullet's attack lightly. It is far from enough to defeat him with this level of strength. Good, a little strength. The corner of Bullet's mouth grinned, and his eyes became fierce in an instant. Then let me try your fineness. Rumble. The arrogance that permeated his body exploded in an instant like gasoline being poured on it. A shocking force erupted from the fist blade. Shanks' expression changed slightly. In the next second, he was directly sent flying by this terrifying force. The body crashed into the wall of the house and flew thousands of meters in an instant. Bullet tapped his toes, and the air exploded, leaving a long scratch on his body in the air. Instantly appeared in front of Shanks in the ruins. The surrounding metal accessories emerged like a wave. It enveloped Bullet's body as if it had life, and condensed it into a 10-meter tall little giant. That's it. He raised his fist high and smashed it forward with all his strength. If you don't want to die here, show some strength, Shanks. Boom. Filled with armament hockey's pitch-black blade, he slashed out a slash tens of meters long. The falling fist shattered under the slash. Don't underestimate me. Ruo Yorao murmured, the will to dominate the world overwhelmingly moved forward and covered the past. Click. The steel armor assembled from parts trembled slightly, as if it was about to disintegrate at any moment. He obviously didn't receive any attack, but an invisible force rushed over from all directions. As this level of overlord-style hockey, incorporating slash into hockey. Bullet's eyes narrowed, and the corners of his mouth slowly grinned. This is a little bit interesting. The fierce battle continued, and on the other side, Kasho, who got rid of Shanks, came in front of Ben Beckman. Are you going to stop me too? Looking at Ben Beckman who was protecting Makino behind him, Kashu frowned slightly. The expression on his face was a little impatient. No, I don't think so at all. Ben Beckman had a freshly rolled cigarette dangling from his mouth, more than a cigar. Sure enough, he still prefers cigarettes. Gently exhaled a puff of smoke, squinted slightly in invisibility, and looked at Kasho calmly. No one dares to pretend to be the Black Emperor to do things. Since you can type the name of the Black Emperor, it means that this matter is related to the Black Emperor. Drago, the Revolutionary Army, entrusted the Black Emperor to take care of his son. It may sound unbelievable. After all, no matter from any point of view, these two forces seem to be incompatible. But if you think about it carefully, it doesn't seem impossible. It would be impossible for the Revolutionary Army to develop to the present level without the private help of any forces. The world government regards the Revolutionary Army as a thorn in its side. Countless spies from CP organizations are secretly investigating matters related to the Revolutionary Army. Just relying on a Revolutionary Army, it is barely enough to survive under the behemoth of the world government. But it is impossible to develop to the present level. The larger the scale, the greater the risk of exposure. Just food, drink, weapons and equipment, can a Revolutionary Army support so many people? Even if it can be raised, such a large-scale collection of grain and grass has long been discovered by the spies of the CP organization. But if standing behind the Revolutionary Army is the Black Emperor, then it can be completely explained. Since the Revolutionary Army is related to the Black Emperor 083. It seems that there is nothing wrong with Dorag entrusting the Black Emperor to take care of his son. Makino, give the child to him, you can't stop him. Ben Beckman took a look at Makino, even if he could block Kashu. But, for a person who has nothing to do with him, he risked the entire pirate group being wiped out. Acceptable, he will obey Shanks unconditionally. For example, what the Black Emperor wanted to take away was the crew on their ship, even if Shanks didn't say anything, he would never agree. It can be believed. Who will come next? If it's the Black Emperor, should. Some things cannot be avoided and must be faced. It's not in their interest. He had to think about it, whether the consequences of what he did would be acceptable. He's not Shanks, who's going to do it on the spur of the moment? Makino's eyes hesitated. Poros, or the Dark Emperor. It's not worth fighting the Black Emperor for a child. After struggling for a while, he handed the child to Kasho with some reluctance. But the matter in front of them has nothing to do with them directly. Monkey Drago's son has nothing to do with them. But if it's going to drag them down, he's not going to let Shanks do things his way all the time. Chapter 114 Artificial Hockey. Hockey Awakening Technology. It's really an addiction. Shanks, I didn't expect such a character to exist in the sea. A huge submarine floats on the sea, and the two ships sail forward slowly. Bullet breathed the air against the sea breeze with a happy face. The battle between him and Shanks was inconclusive, and the difference in strength between the two sides was not large. If you continue to fight, there will be only life and death. But his purpose this time is to help Kasho bring back Dorag's son. Not here to fight Shanks. Why are you here? After handing over the child in his arms to his subordinates, Kasho glanced at Bullet with a strange expression on his face. This time, he was the only one who came out to complete the task assigned by the Black Emperor. It stands to reason that Bullet should not be encountered. I just finished the task in East Blue, accidentally saw your ship, wanted to say hello. Bullet looked at the sky, and said this nonchalantly. But I didn't expect to meet such an interesting guy. Shanks, the crew of Luogia pirates, is he very strong? Kasho looked at Bullet, although he could probably sense Shanks' strength. But after all, he has never fought in person. To what extent, it can only be speculated. Half a foot into the Peak Admiral realm, but its haki is very strange, it seems that it will be integrated with Conqueror's haki to some extent. Bullet whispered, rubbing his chin. Think back to what happened just now. The ubiquitous Conqueror's haki slashed at his body from all directions like sharp sword energy. It is necessary to constantly devote energy to dodging those subtle attacks. Otherwise, although this delicate sword energy will not kill him directly, it will also increase the consumption of his physical energy. After a long time, it is very fatal. The ability is very strange, but it doesn't seem to be Devil Fruit's ability user. This guy's difficulty is probably not inferior to that of the Peak Admiral. If we really want to fight to the death, the two of us will be between 7 and 3. Shanks, is that guy that strong? Kashu's expression was a little astonished. A 30% win rate may seem low, but considering Shanks' age, he has a 30% chance of beating Bullet. Looking around the world, how many people can do it? Such a level of power at such a young age. In another 10 years, how terrifying will Shanks, who has reached the peak of his life, be? I'm afraid he is at least a peak player at the level of Whitebeard and Garp. Yeah, the younger generation is awesome. Bullet nodded, his tone inexplicable. I don't know what I thought of, the corners of my mouth slightly raised, and I looked back. The smile on the corner of his mouth gradually widened. However, such a life is interesting, isn't it? There is no fun in the sea that is too flat. Joshi Island, inside the Black Palace. Zhang Yang, whose consciousness resides in Poros, holds a child in his arms. Children of the future world. Looking at the baby who didn't even open his eyes in the swaddle, Zhang Yang narrowed his eyes slightly. Indistinctly, he seemed to smell a power beyond the ordinary from this child. Even he couldn't ignore this powerful force. It's not an illusion, it's the innate power of destiny. This child is born with the destiny to change the world. Dorag, you are a good leader, but unfortunately you are not a good father. Zhang Yang shook his head. He lost his mother when he was born, and his father was busy with his career and didn't take him seriously. If there is still a grandfather, this child is no different from an orphan. I don't know how far you can go in the future. Let me give you more strength. The strong vitality gathers in the hands and slowly blends into the child's body. Lend 100 years of your life, I hope you can bring me a little surprise. He handed the baby in his hand to Kasho, who was half kneeling under the steps. When he grows up, he will be sent to the elite training camp for training. Although he is very interested in this future son of the world, he doesn't have the extra energy to raise a child right now. I finally figured it out. In the huge laboratory, Guy Saw, standing in front of a pile of equipment, looked excitedly at the sealed glass bottle filled with black gas. Last time when he was driven by Vegapunk to Amazon Lily to investigate the strange phenomenon of Daughter Island, he accidentally discovered the fruit of life and the fruit of haki. Since his return, he has been immersed in experiments to study the nature of haki. After such a long period of experimentation and research, he has finally initially developed a technology that can allow ordinary people to master the power of haki, as well as the technology that can transform haki. A black gas flows from a transparent glass bottle. The concentrated black gas solidified like a liquid. Guy scattered, carefully took out a special metal long knife. Mount the sealed glass bottle on the base of the Tibetan knife. Exclamation mark. The jet black haki spreads upwards from the base of the knife until it covers the entire blade. And completely covered the two arms. Guy Saw, holding a long knife in his hand, slashed hard at the solid metal pillar in front of him. Click. With a soft sound, the entire metal body was instantly split into two halves. The sharpness and toughness have been greatly improved, and the strength has increased by about 30%. With an excited expression on his face, Guy ran to the experimental bench as excitedly as a child. A special instrument was pulled out from the experiment table. When I reached out and pressed it, a long, thin needle popped out from the instrument. Guy stuck the long needle into his arm. A faint light flickered on the instrument, and a line of numbers appeared on the empty display screen. W. 0.25%. J. 0.01%. B. 0.0001%. The haki factor concentration of armament haki has increased by 0.24. Sure enough, frequent contact with high concentration armed color factors can subtly increase your own haki concentration. Guy underestimated in a low voice, then shook his head suddenly. No, it should be the gene cells in the human body that will automatically absorb and assimilate haki to increase their own haki concentration. The improvement of haki farming will increase the chance of haki awakening. But the increase in probability does not mean that awakening is inevitable. It just greatly enhanced the originally weak probability, Zhao Hao. However, this is already a phased achievement. It's just that whether it can be stimulated or not depends on a person's potential. Ask Vegapunk to bring him food wash. He could already imagine his shocked and admiring expression when his results were displayed in front of Vegapunk. When the concentration of Haki exceeds a certain limit, the power from Haki will be awakened. Now he doesn't just hit Vince Moke, kick Vegapunk, marry Bai Fume, and go to the pinnacle of life. Be the leader in the lab. Its difficulty is infinitely more difficult than normal armament Haki energy factor. Research on Haki can go further, and observation Haki and Conqueror's Haki have some clues. As for whether you can awaken Haki, it doesn't depend on luck or talent. He has tried many times to cultivate the Haki factor of Conqueror's Haki on a large scale, but the result is not ideal. If it is said that the probability of a person being able to awaken Haki is only 1%, then the probability will increase to 10% or even 20% if they are often exposed to high concentrations of Haki factor. Therefore, artificial Haki is not only a limited power, but also can stimulate the potential power zone of the human body. The awakening difficulty of armament Haki and observation Haki is not bad, but you want to thoroughly master Conqueror's Haki, especially the large-scale production of Conqueror's factors. Guy nodded his forehead. Guy walked out of the lab with a bottle of armament Haki factor in his hand, full of excitement. Chapter 115 Moon Lion Form. Have you developed the artificial Haki factor technology? Guy came to Vegapunk's laboratory with his latest artificial Haki technology. Watching Guy personally experiment with his latest technology, Vegapunk frowned, and a look of admiration flashed in his eyes. The root of Haki, and the possibility of improving Haki's awakening, this problem has always been a difficulty that they cannot overcome. He really didn't expect that Geisa could develop this cutting-edge technology by himself. This was really beyond his expectations. Although here, the emergence of Haki fruit played the most critical role. The first crucial stepping stone appeared for the originally clueless scientific research project. However, it is undeniable that Guy's wisdom also played a considerable role here. In this way, the last weakness of the giant god warrior will be made up for. Vince Moke Judge rubbed his chin and whispered. The strength of their latest giant warrior has reached the admiral level. Although the manufacturing process is difficult, it cannot be mass-produced on a large scale. But a number of prototypes of the initial model have also been produced in small-scale manufacturing. The result of the experiment is that the combat power is very strong, and it can fight against the strong ones of the admiral level alone. But the weakness is that it cannot effectively attack the ability users of Logia Devil Fruit. If the Seastone weapon is loaded on the body, it can harm the ability user of Devil Fruit. 627 But the texture of Seastone is hard, even with the help of Stoneworker, Kazuki, it would take too much time to process Seastone into a weapon. Moreover, it is too easy for a strong man with observation Haki to avoid the attack of Seastone weapons. Therefore, the practicability of Seastone weapons is much different from that of armament Haki, which can cover the whole body and be freely controlled. And now, Guy has developed the artificial Haki, which can be said to fill the last glaring hole in the Titan warrior. Hearing the praise in the tone of the two people, it was obviously the guy with a dog face, and Lee's eyes almost narrowed. If he had a tail, he would be wagging it happily by now. Later this, what's that thing behind you? He coughed twice and moistened his throat. Guy, who was about to announce that he would be the boss of this laboratory in the future, suddenly saw the cylindrical translucent glass wall behind Vegapunk. A strangely shaped giant. Looking at the shape, it should be a mechanical soldier of the second version optimized model. However, this image seems a bit exaggerated. At a height of about 10 meters, the body is covered with curvy golden hair. A pair of wild beast eyes, long golden hair hanging loose, stretched back, rough and heroic like a golden lion. With that beast-like face and sharp claws, just by looking at it, there is a rush of crazy wildness. This guy was stared at by those eyes and trembled all over. This degree of pressure has almost reached the admiral level. You said this is our latest mechanical soldier in the form of a moonlight lion. Vegapunk glanced at the mechanical soldiers in the nutrient solution, and shook his head helplessly. It's just a failure. Failure. How many question marks appeared on Guy's forehead? This terrifying aura is almost as F************G as strong as an admiral level powerhouse. You tell me this is a failure. It feels outrageous to say this. It is indeed a failure. Vegapunk shrugged, walked to the experimental bench and operated the computer to bring up an experimental data analysis exhibition. Look here. Vegapunk points to a sinuous wavy line on the panel. What does this mean? It looks a bit like physical data. Guy's brow frowned into a tic-tac-toe. It feels a bit strange. Why is there such a huge fluctuation? The data analysis table records the fluctuation detection status of the mechanical soldier's physical data in the past month. The highest data among them is twice the lowest value. This is probably a bit too exaggerated, right? With twice the physical gap, this is almost an insurmountable horizontal ditch. The normal vice admiral and quasi-admiral level of combat power is about this level. According to our in-depth research, there is a powerful force hidden deep in the genes of the fur race, which can be activated through acquired training, just like Haki. This kind of power is called the Moon Lion form by the fur tribe. Let's call it the Moon Lion bloodline. Once activated, the cells in the body Abi will greatly enter an active state. Whether it is physical fitness, explosiveness, or recovery power will be doubled increase. Vegapunk pointed to the graphic fluctuations on the computer and said, it can be seen that when the moon is at its fullest every month, the blood of the Moon Lion will enter an active period. At this time, the strength of the Moon Lion form is at its peak, and its strength will probably double that of the normal state. Quote. At night, the blood of the moon lion will also be more active, but compared to the peak state, it is only about 70% of the strength, and entering the Baiyi state, the moon lion will be completely silent, and the strength will return to the normal state. Vegapunk put his hands on his chest, rubbing his chin slightly. As for the specific reason, I guess it may be a special magnetic field or energy tide when the full moon appears. The power of this tide will affect and stimulate the activity of the lion's bloodline on the moon. However, a lot of validation is needed to find a solution that can affect the activity of the lunar Leo bloodline. Our current solution is to find this special energy tide, and then use simulation to replicate the special fluctuation of this energy tide. Vegapunk said, as long as they find this special energy tide, they can clone and copy this wave. Through a special method, it is integrated into the chip of the mechanical soldier. Keep the mechanical soldiers in the peak state forever. If the results of the experiment meet expectations, they can try to integrate the blood of the moon lion into the giant warrior. The giant god soldiers who have integrated the blood of the moon lion can improve their abilities by at least 50%. By the way, what were you trying to say just now? Suddenly remembered something, Vegapunk turned his head and glanced at Guy, who hesitated to speak. No, nothing. Guy twitched the corner of his mouth slightly. The words held in his mouth could not be uttered at all. Although he has researched the hockey factor and artificial hockey technology, compared with the moon lion form developed by Vegapunk, it always feels a bit inferior. Under such circumstances, how could he say such a shameless thing like letting Vegapunk abdicate to him as the boss? The aggrieved Guy said, and left Vegapunk's laboratory angrily. Since armament hockey can't overwhelm you, I will develop a more powerful armament color, as well as knowledge color and conqueror's factor. He really couldn't believe it. He who has fully mastered the 3 artificial hockey factors is not as good as a mere moon lion bloodline. Non-existent. He, Guy, wants to surpass Vegapunk and become the most outstanding, wise and intelligent scientist under the Black Emperor. Vegapunk, isn't he a little smarter, a little stronger in invention and creativity than him, and a little higher in IQ than him? Besides these, what else does he have? What is he? He is an A*. If he fights alone, he, Guy, can kill this dog in seconds. Just wait for me, Vegapunk, I will surpass you and become the strongest scientist. Chapter 116 Admiral Strong. Fujitora smile. It's really a scene of prosperity and strict rules. On the bustling island in the sky, a man with a stick and sword in one hand, and a man with gray eyes stared blankly ahead. His cloudy eyes flicked around the surrounding casinos. Look at the expression, seems to be a little heartbroken. It's still important to get down to business, let's gamble again in a while. Reluctantly withdrawing his gaze turned to the magnificent and majestic huge palace complex. The Black Emperor. Let me come. Let's see it. Master N***********, there is a person outside who wants to see you. The captain of the guard is not sure. Let me make an announcement. The black ghost who was busy raised his head slightly, and glanced at the guard who ran in. He lowered his head, continued to process the documents in front of him, and asked casually. Is it very strong? If it was just an ordinary person, it would be impossible for the captain of the guard at the vice admiral level to be so entangled. The Black Palace is not a place where cats and dogs can come in. People who have no strength or no identity background are not qualified to enter at all. Otherwise, he wouldn't do anything for a whole day, and it wouldn't be enough to argue with these guys. Gaxi Island has long since passed the stage of starving for talents. Pirates whose strength is less than 500 million Baileys are special talents of other professions. Unless it can pass the assessment outside the door, it can be tested that this is a useful person. He will meet in person. If the talent is high enough, there is still a chance to face the Storm Boros and the king. The captain said, at least admiral level. The guard's words made the N********R pause slightly. A strong man at the admiral level. He raised his head and glanced at the guard, his eyes and tone became serious, full of majesty. Are you sure you said that? No matter where a strong person at the admiral level is placed, they are not unknown people. During the peak period of naval headquarters, the admiral level powerhouses did not exceed double digits. Although, Gaxi Island's power and talent reserves have entered a saturated stage. However, there can never be too many admiral level powerhouses. Then, bring him in. An admiral level powerhouse came to see him, no matter what the purpose was, it was always bad to refuse. The guard ran out. Tread. After a while, dull footsteps sounded from outside the door. The N*******R narrowed his eyes slightly, staring at the blind man who walked in from the door and was dressed in sloppy clothes. A blind man. It was really beyond his expectation. But that thick and dull breath undoubtedly proved his strength. This kind of oppressive power is at least admiral level combat power. Moreover, it is not an ordinary admiral level combat power. I don't know how to call it. The N*******R straightened up slightly, the expression on his face and tone of voice were equal gestures. Admiral cannot be humiliated, even if this is Gaxi Island, it is necessary to maintain basic respect for this admiral level powerhouse. My lord, Hu Shao, slightly raised his head, his cloudy eyes seemed to be able to see the truth under the hypocrisy. A feeling of being seen through suddenly rose in the black ghost's heart. I came here this time to seek a position brazenly. A simple and honest smile appeared on Fujitora's face, as if a little ashamed. Fujitora actually came to me. Upon receiving this news, Zhang Yang's expression was slightly strange. Fujitora smiled. This person has a strong sense of justice. A person who will take the initiative to kneel to others because of Marine's mistakes. You can see what kind of character he is from this. Justice and has its own morality. He's not like Sakazuki, who knows what's wrong but still sticks to the end. If you are wrong, admit it. Then correct it. This kind of person will become Marine, he is not surprised. But he would join the Black Emperor's command, which made him a little confused. Could it be that in his eyes, the Black Emperor is more a symbol of justice than Marine and world government? Zhang Yang stroked his chin with a puzzled expression on his face. If you think about it this way, it doesn't seem impossible. After all, when it comes to the management of order, Gaxi Island and the vicinity of the Haiwang Sea area, the rules can be said to be harsh. In any case, it is a good thing for him that Gaxi Island has an extra admiral level combat power. As for whether Fujitora can be retained to play for him in the end, no one can say. Based on what he knows about Fujitora, if Gaxi Island's behavior does not conform to his philosophy, he may hang up and leave at any time. I have seen too many dark things, so I made myself blind. Although the reason is a bit outrageous, but I am so cruel to myself, so I can see how firm this guy's will is. Meanwhile, the tip of the Amazon lily. Hancock, what are you doing? The little old man was carried by the girl and thrown out of the window. I've said it many times, don't call that lord's name directly in front of me, and add honorifics when you mention the Black Emperor. Hancock, who was dressed in a sakura flower cheongsam, had his hands on his chest and looked out of the window at his mother-in-law arrogantly. If there is another time, I will throw you into the ground to feed the snake. You be asterisk 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 D who doesn't know how to respect the old and love the young at all. Granny Z, who was on crutches, got up from the ground, clutching her waist with a depressed face. Asterisk at caret asterisk dollar asterisk caret. Respect the old and love the young. Even if you don't know, so what? Anyway, everyone will forgive me, after all. The concubine is really beautiful. Hancock cupped his cheeks in his hands, his cheeks flushed. What a nice view. Granny Yi's eyes instantly turned into hearts. With a violent shake of his head, he took his mind off Hancock's beauty. The mother-in-law had a solemn expression on her face. I'm not talking about this now. The battle for the position of Empress is approaching the most critical moment. If nothing unexpected happens, no one should be able to take away the position of Empress from you. Naval Headquarters sent you an invitation to join Shichibukai. In your capacity, if you refuse, it means that Amazon Lily will be an enemy of Marine. What does that matter? Do you want me to be an enemy of that lord? Hancock looked at her mother-in-law with a bad expression. Of course not. The corners of Granny Yi's mouth twitched slightly. But you can totally superficially join the Shichibukai. Seeing that Hancock was about to refuse immediately, the mother-in-law turned her eyes nimbly. Joining Shichibukai on the surface, but actually not doing anything for Marine, but also stealing useful information from Marine and sending it to Gaxi Island, will the Black Emperor pay more attention to you? Hancock opened his mouth, although it felt like something was wrong. But if you think about it carefully, it seems that there is nothing wrong with this sentence. If she can get useful news from Marine and pass it on to that lord, she must have a deeper impression on that adult, right? My lord, will you? An imperceptible blush appeared on Hancock's face as he thought of something. No, Shichibukai must join. Next time you dare to use such a disrespectful tone and mention that as an adult, I will feed you to the snake. Boom. The smile on Grandma's face froze for a moment. A gloomy voice sounded from behind. The smile on your old guy's face is so treacherous, are you thinking about something shameful again? Looking at Granny Z who disappeared into the sky, Hancock snorted coldly. The squinting Hancock looked at her grimly. She seems to have caught Hancock's weakness, this guy doesn't pay attention to anyone and doesn't care about anything. Also, as I said just now, when referring to the Black Emperor, you should use honorifics. An old woman who doesn't know how to live or die. There was a satisfied and gratified smile on the mother-in-law's face. Hancock, what do you want? But he unexpectedly cared about the impression the Black Emperor had of him. Looking at Hancock with a hurried expression, as if he was stepping on a hot iron, he was impatient and couldn't wait for a second. Sure enough, women in love are fools. If there is anything you want to persuade her in the future, you can start from this aspect. Sandersonia, hurry up and reply to Marine and say I agree to join Shichibukai. With a flying kick in the air, Granny Z was kicked out. Chapter 117 Succession Marshal. The beginning of a new era. Naval Headquarters, which has been in preparation for a long time, was finally fully completed after a few months. Nestled against the holy land of Mariajoy, built on the Red Line. The scale of the new naval headquarters is even bigger, of course, this is only what it looks like on the surface. In fact, the internal architecture and background are completely inferior to the naval headquarters Marineford, which has been established for hundreds of years. To put it bluntly, it is a face project. Without the precipitation of history, how can we get the breath of time? HMPH, that's really arrogant. The top celebrities from all over the world gathered together. 5 elders, the supreme commander of the world government, the king of the world government member states, and the celestial dragons of the world nobles. Countless reporters from top newspapers around the world. The entire auditorium was crowded. It is no exaggeration to say that 10 people were killed by throwing a stone at random. 9 are all princes and nobles who are either rich or noble. Sakazuki, sitting in the second row, looked at the podium with a displeased face. Today is the time for naval headquarters to complete the establishment of 880, and it is also the ceremony for the succession of Marine Marshal He Xiao. Just think of He Xiao's confident and arrogant expression. Every cell in Sakazuki's body was exuding an aura of displeasure and resistance. If he could choose, he really didn't want to appear in this auditorium at all. It's a pity he didn't have the chance to choose. As Admiral of Naval Headquarters, this kind of scene must not be absent. Otherwise, not to mention Marshal Marine, He Xiao, who has been seeing him wrongly for a long time, will make trouble for him. Even the 5 elders might rant about his ignorance. The Marshal of Naval Headquarters succeeded, and as the top combat force of Naval Headquarters, the powerhouse of the Admiral level was unexpectedly absent. I don't know, I thought Naval Headquarters had been split internally. Sakazuki, don't be overheard, that guy's temper is not like he will tolerate you. Pelusolino's tone was a little gloating. Sakazuki and He Xiao, the 2 deadly rivals, have always been at odds with each other. Black Owl is now Marshal of Naval Headquarters. It doesn't matter to him anyway, it doesn't matter whoever is the Marshal. It's time to fish, and you should be a second dog. As long as his identity as a spy is not exposed, he is fine with a dog coming to be the Marine Marshal. But for Sakazuki, it's going to be bad luck. This guy He Xiao has a proud and humble character, if you scold him, he will remember you for a year or so. Based on the relationship between him and Sakazuki, it would be strange not to wear shoes for him in the future. Hey, it shouldn't be so, I think Senior He Xiao's character is okay, he doesn't look like the kind of person who would use his power for personal gain. Kuzan half closed his eyes and seemed to be sleeping but not sleeping, and his tone seemed to have not woken up. Compared with Sakazuki and Pelusolino, he rarely interacts with Zhang Yang, and his impression of Zhang Yang is still the same as when he met Garp last time. Overall, not too bad. Raquel glanced at a few colleagues who were talking quietly, and remained silent. While there was a lot of discussion below, the succession ceremony of Marshal Naval Headquarters officially started. First, the Commander-in-Chief of the World Government, an old man in his 70s and 80s, came to the stage and spoke a few words. Then, the 5 elders, who are at the pinnacle of world government power, are personally awarded the honor. Handed over the scepter representing Marine's highest power to Zhang Yang. Holding the scepter in his hand, he looked down at the neat rows of heads under the high platform. As of today, he is the supreme leader of Naval Headquarters. Truly become the pinnacle figure standing at the pinnacle of power in this world. But that was not what he had in mind. If Aizen, Uchiha Madara, and Poros are all gathered here, and all these people are left. Facing the odd and flattering eyes, Zhang Yang narrowed his eyes slightly. If all the people in this auditorium were killed, I am afraid that the entire world government would fall apart in an instant. However, it is not yet time. His goal is not to want a piece of shattered glass. It only takes a while, the plan he has prepared for so many years is about to reach the final stage. At that time, they wanted to replace the world government and completely rule the world. It's just a natural thing. It is obviously something that can be easily obtained at your fingertips, why add a lot of twists and turns? Time passed in a hurry, and the whole world seemed to have completely calmed down in an instant. Countless powerful pirates rise from all over the world. But Uchiha Madara rules the New World in the second half of the Grand Line, and the Black Emperor rules the Black Emperor Sea area in the second half of the Grand Line. The organization under the world government controls the first half of the New World and all over the world. This situation has been maintained and has not been shaken. Whenever there are some pirates who don't know the heights of the sky and the depths of the earth, they want to challenge these 3 major forces. The end result is usually to be hit head to toe. Stop for Lousy. Lousy is a big pirate with a bounty of 280 million, barat. If you don't want to die, hand over the money to me. In the bustling commercial district, a roar broke the long-lost tranquility. The tourists who were playing nearby looked blankly at the man dressed as a pirate. The expression seemed to see a fool. Another rookie who doesn't know how to live or die, dare to come to Joxy Island to make trouble with a reward of 200 million. A bumpkin who has never seen the world. A few tourists nearby took a few steps back, away from this brain-dead pirate, and didn't bother to talk to him at all. Have you watched the new movie that aired recently? You mean that XXX movie? I heard that it was a special effects film that Haiwang Cinema invited many big names to shoot together. Would you like to play 2 games? I'll treat you to 5 consecutive seats in the box of the internet cafe. FK, you idiots, don't you understand what Lousy is saying? Listening to the discussion of the surrounding crowd, the pirate who was left alone became a little annoyed, and a trace of cruelty flashed in his eyes. Die to Lousy. Holding a huge mace in his hand, he raised it high and was about to smash it into the crowd. Boom. The cold metal condensed into a big hand, drilled out from the ground, and held the pirate directly. The huge power made the pirate's face turn livid. I almost couldn't breathe and suffocated to death. Brother, this is not a place where you can be presumptuous. A cold voice came from behind, and Kasho, who was wearing a metal armor, walked towards the bound pirate with a blank expression. Take him away, to the 3rd prison. A few guards wearing black military uniforms and black dragon armbands walked over. Take away the troublesome pirates. The current pirates are really getting worse and worse. After so many years of silence, many people in the sea have already forgotten the reputation of the Black Emperor. In the past, let alone such a small speed of 200 to 300 million. Even if it is a big pirate with a bounty of over 1 billion, how many dare to act presumptuously on Gaxi Island? His head was screwed off. Shaking his head, Kasho walked towards the direction of the Black Palace. The purpose of his coming back this time is not to deal with one or two little pirates. 4.3. He has more important things to report. The importance of this matter is enough to subvert the future of the entire world. The false peace will not last long, and the peace that has been maintained for a long time will eventually be broken. What awaits the world next? Chance or disaster? Kill or feast? The only thing that can be known is that the world will usher in great changes unseen in 1,000 years. And what role will the Black Emperor play in this? Is it the first battle to confer the gods to the top of the world? Or die just like that, the legend falls to be another buried century-old dust? Cashew doesn't know, but the fight won't be over until he's down. Drago can be martyred for his ideals, and he can also sacrifice his life, loyalty and faith for his loyal monarch. Use your life to permanently imprint the name of the Black Emperor on this world. They may fail, but their will never be broken. Chapter 118 The Final Land Raftel. The Battle of the Pinnacle begins. Holding high the torch of civilization, we came to this world and ignited the fire called wisdom. We are the pioneers of the times. Bring civilization to this world and guide this barbaric world to civilization. We brought hope, we brought technology, and we brought strength. Interesting, it turns out that the D clan are the invaders of this world. Bringing the seeds of technology and civilization, but enslaving the natives of this world in another way, the creator of world government is the original ruler of this world. It was replaced by the Ds, and this overturned it. What a story with twists and turns. In front of the steel, Zhang Yang, who controls Uchiha Madara's body, gently stroked his chin. This is the legendary terminal. The most mysterious area of the Grand Line, Raftel. The treasure left by the One Piece Luogia is buried here. Many people think that the treasure left by One Piece is just a lie, but in fact, Luogia did not lie. He did leave behind a great deal of treasure. The jewels of the entire 2 pirate ships are worth at least more than 20 billion, in addition to things like big knives and devil fruit. However, as a noble and upper-class person who transcends low taste, mere money is not valued by Zhang Yang at all. Devil fruit was a pleasant surprise. However, compared with these extraneous things, what interests him more is to prove what is recorded on the steel. Void century history. What happened? Why was technology more advanced in the past than it is now? There are faults in civilization, and technology is turning counterclockwise at an unimaginable speed. Many unexplainable things seem to have an answer in an instant. Because these things were originally the fire brought by another higher level civilization. They brought civilization, but also slavery. As an invader, replace the original ruler and rule the world. He was overthrown by the original master of this world. Although their bloodlines have not been cut off, they have been passed down. However, most of the civilization and wisdom they brought have disappeared in the long river of history because of wars and resistance. Of course, in their eyes, they are not wrong, they have brought more advanced civilization and wisdom to this world. Of course it should rule the world. Those who resist and overthrow their rule are traitors. This also applies to the world before he crossed over. A strong country can rule a weak country, and a country without strength cannot even guarantee its own territorial sovereignty. It can only be reduced to a pawn of a powerful country and a tool of the game. Nonsense without any meaning, a group of losers who only remember the glory of the past, no wonder they will be overthrown. Standing under the steel, Zhang Yang's mouth slowly twitched. The palm stretched out, and the boiling blue flame condensed into a giant, uprooting the entire historical text. There's no use for this kind of rubbish. Plop. He threw the historical text into the sea casually. The most suitable solution for this kind of non-recyclable stubborn garbage is to throw it into the sea as waste. It can also add a little more contribution to land reclamation. The strongest technological crystallization left by the D family is the spaceship they took from other planets, Uranus, one of the 3 ancient weapons. If nothing else, Uranus should now be buried in the heart of the Holy Land Mariajoy, between the flowers. There is no doubt that the D family has a strong technological level. An ancient weapon that can destroy an island with a single shot, such as the Pluton battleship. From this, it can be seen how far their technological level has reached. And Uranus, as the crystallization of their highest technological civilization, what kind of power will it have? At least what is certain is that it must be able to shock, even suppress the power of the entire world. They would have been overthrown by the original creators of the world government. Not because their strength is too weak, but because the system is different. The D family advocates the simultaneous development of science and technology and civilization, ignoring the development of their own strength. And this world just has such a treasure beyond the routine as devil fruit. It's not something incomprehensible that they will be overthrown. His face suddenly paused, as if he felt something. Zhang Yang closed his eyes. After a while, he slowly opened his eyes, with a flash of doubt in his eyes. Kasho. Did he check it? Could it be that the tasks entrusted to him have been completed? The furrowed brows slowly loosened, and the consciousness switched, descending on Poros. The 18th batch of elite training camp students have graduated and are now heading to their respective areas of responsibility. The forces of Wano Kuni, the Kingdom of Knights, and Amazon Lily are also ready. What about the information from the Revolutionary Army? Zhang Yang sat on the throne with his legs crossed, and Kasho, who was standing under the steps, said respectfully. For the Revolutionary Army, The forces in the four seas are ready to be dispatched at any time, but according to the news from our spies, the world government seems to be aware of the actions of the revolutionary army. Has it been found? Zhang Yang frowned, but he didn't feel too surprised. After all, the revolutionary army is not a force under his control. After so many years of development, although it has achieved results, it is still far behind the forces under the command of the Black Emperor. It is normal for such a big movement to attract the attention of the world government. After all, what he will do next can be said to affect the whole world. However, after more than 10 years of preparation, the harvest season is about to arrive, so there can't be any problems because of this little accident. Let Doflamingo come forward to solve it. Are there any other problems? With the forces controlled by Doflamingo, it is more than enough to help the revolutionary army finish. After all, the world government doesn't know the goal of the revolutionary army, at best it just thinks that the revolutionary army has made such a big move. He is more worried about other issues now. After so many years of planning, any link must be refined to achieve the most perfect state. He didn't want to see any mistakes. A slight difference can determine the outcome of a war. The mechanical transformation troop is ready, and the Moon Lion giant warriors have also been transported to various places. All the preparatory work has been prepared and ready to be dispatched at any time. Kashi said seriously. He knows the seriousness of this matter. Therefore, he personally regulated every link and confirmed it countless times, and there would never be the slightest mistake. Then, let's get started. The corners of Zhang Yang's mouth opened slightly, and a strong smell of blood came to his face. It was as if a hunting beast had found its prey and was about to start its own hunt. Everything is ready, and then each will use his means. It is done, crowned king. Defeated and reduced to ashes. Winners and losers, the weak prey on the strong. This is the essence of this world. Although he is sure of winning, he is also ready to face failure. A 60% certainty is enough to take a life-threatening gamble, but he is more than 60% sure now. World government, all I can give you is a decent ending. He looked out of the hall. World government, doom is coming. This world will usher in a new, more powerful ruler. Chapter 119. Four seas prepare for war. Ready. New World seems to have changed recently, and the fleet of the Uchiha pirates is being mobilized on a large scale. Have you investigated their purpose? No, the possibility of them going to war with the Black Emperor is not ruled out. Will they unite with the Black Emperor? Impossible, there is no sign that the Black Emperor will unite with Uchiha Madara. In the hall of the Holy Land Mariajoy, the five elders were discussing seriously. But we can't rule that out, can we? No matter what, first inform Marshal Heishao to make emergency preparations. If the two of them unite together, then call the allied countries under the world government to fight against these two forces. If they go to war, that's even better, and wipe them all out in one fell swoop while they are weak. The Black Emperor and Uchiha Madara. These two cancers have become the confidants of the world government. If you can take this opportunity to cut them all off, that is undoubtedly a great opportunity. Even if it is to pay a heavy price, they will not hesitate. There seems to be movement in the revolutionary army. Could it be that they want to take advantage of the opportunity to fish in troubled waters? Said five elders, holding a knife in his arms. Don't worry about them for the time being. The revolutionary army is just a young man. Although it is dangerous, it will not threaten the rule of the world government. The most important issue now is the threat of the Black Emperor and Uchiha Madara. With the Black Emperor and Uchiha Madara out of the way, we have plenty of time to clean up these restless stragglers. The blonde five elders looked dismissive. Obviously, the revolutionary army was not taken seriously at all. Tangled with a group of minions from all over the world, you want to challenge the domination of the world. If only world government could be toppled so easily. That will not stand in this world for thousands of years. I'm more worried about another thing than this. Five elders, with a scar on the corner of his eye, spoke with a solemn tone. You mean, the guy who destroyed Marineford and left the area without a trace? That's right, slowly nodded. A dangerous guy who can destroy Marlin by himself and leave calmly. If he hides in the dark, he is like a lion majesty waiting for an opportunity. We have to find a way to find him. But where to find it? On the icy sea, huge warships are moving forward. Reporting to my king, West Blue is ahead. I don't know, where is our first target next? At the bow of the fleet, the king of knights in bright silver armor leaned against the board with swords in both hands. His eyes looked far away at the area that he had never set foot in. In the land of West Blue, there are a total of 7 countries that join the world government. According to the information we have obtained, 4 of them have already surrendered to His Majesty the Black Emperor. Which of the remaining 3 alliance countries is the closest to us? The Night King slowly withdrew his gaze and looked at the left minister beside him. My lord, the closest to us is the kingdom of Sahara in the Sea of Eri. Minister Zuo looked down at the map in his hand and said. Then march towards the Sahara. This war is a battle of honor for knights. Only success is allowed, and failure is not allowed. In the land of North Blue, Doflamingo looked at the telegram in his hand. The corners of the mouth are slightly raised, and the smile is cold. After preparing for so long, this day is finally here. Celestial dragons, world government, this group of stupid and poor fellows, I will give back to you little by little what you have brought me. Notify the cadres that the feast is about to begin, cheer me up. His black forces have developed for such a long time, and have already penetrated into all parts of the world. Among them, North Blue infiltrated most seriously. The land of North Blue, the 5 joining countries of world government. It has all been taken down by him, from the king to the subjects, and all have been reduced to its puppets. And the next thing he has to do is to use all his strength to occupy the entire North Blue and divide it into the rule of the Black Emperor. If this war ends with the victory of the Black Emperor, then he, who occupies North Blue, can at least become a minister of the frontier. If this war fails, the world government wins the final victory. He who has ruled the land of North Blue can also advance, attack and retreat. Even if the world government wants to deal with him, it is not certain whether they can find him. Boom boom boom. What is that? Why is it so big? It looks like an elephant. Elephants. Elephants that big. It's too outrageous. A gigantic monster with a height of 1,000 meters and a body length measured in kilometers walked through the sea. The rising waves rolled up a huge tsunami. The shadow that covers the sky and the sun covers the entire sky. General Odin, East Blue is ahead. Holding a jug of wine in his hand, sitting cross-legged on the floor eating Kazuki Odin, he heard this and glanced at a cat and a dog in front of him. Behind him, an army of samurai wearing plate armor and long knives at their waists lined up neatly. The crowd was silent. After leaving for so long, it's finally here. He drank the fine wine in one gulp, and threw away the flagon in his hand. Kazuki Odin stood up slowly while sitting cross-legged, stretched his waist, and glanced back at the samurai Amaya behind him. The majestic deep voice was completely different from the usual funny. This time we came here for our promise, to fight for the Black Emperor, to swear by the honor of a warrior, to risk our lives, to win, not to return. Let this see, witness the power that belongs to Wano-kuni, tell them all, we are back. Closed to the country Wano-kuni, the first battle after lifting the ban is the pinnacle decisive battle to determine the future ruler of the world. To be able to participate in this huge battle, it's an honor. In the South Blue area, Drago stared at the sea in front of him, his eyes flickering with flickering light. Hey Emperor, hey Shao, what is the connection between you? Think about everything you have experienced in the past. A bold and unbelievable idea came to mind. Never shown, but with great power. Could it be you? Black Owl, how many secrets are you still hiding? Whenever he felt that he was about to see this person clearly, he would find that everything he saw was just the tip of the iceberg that he deliberately showed. You never know what kind of whole cards he hides in private. Can't figure it out, can't see Wang Nuo's clearly, his body seems to be shrouded in a layer of fog from beginning to end. Everything he showed was just his disguise. Whenever he thinks of this, an indescribable sense of urgency and fear emerges in Duo Lage's heart. At the same time, a large number of Marines gathered in the newly established naval headquarters. The number of elite Marines mobilized from all over the world in the Grand Line has exceeded 200,000. Admiral-level powerhouses gathered, and even the Shichibukai forces under Marine were all overwhelmed. The calm sea was instantly filled with the feeling that the storm is about to come. In the midst of this tense atmosphere, the Uchiha pirates fleet from New World appeared in the sea area hundreds of kilometers away from the border of the Black Emperor Sea area. Is it finally about to start? The eyes of the whole world were attracted in an instant. The Black Emperor and Uchiha Madara, these two are the most powerful snobbery in the world except the world government. Finally, is it time for war? Who fired the first shot? Chapter 120 Shelling the Holy Land. Slay the Celestial Dragons. Marshal, according to the news from the intelligence personnel of the CP organization, the Black Emperor and the Uchiha Madara pirate group are confronting the border of the Black Emperor's sea area. In the large marshal's office, a group of marine generals with ranks above vice admiral are waiting. Looking at the latest bulletin handed over, Zhang Yang narrowed his eyes slightly. What about the call-up orders for Shichibukai and the headquarters? Clock Dar, Tyrant Bear, Gecko Moria, Snake Princess Boa Hancock. Shichibukai are all in place. The Admiral Vice Admiral is all in place, and more than 250,000 Marine soldiers have been recruited from all over the world. The Marines that have not arrived are still coming. Zhang Yang closed his eyes, as if thinking about the data. 250,000 Marine soldiers, this number sounds a bit outrageous. However, thinking that these Marines are gathered from all over the world in the Grand Line, it seems not unacceptable. It's just that this level of Marine, with the strength of the Uchiha pirates, is not impossible to fight. The battle between the Black Emperor and the Uchiha Madara pirates is imminent, and the Five Elders' order is for us to wait for the opportunity. Zhang Yang propped his chin with both hands, his eyes flashed across the faces of a group of Marine generals. I plan to send all the Marines out to ambush near the Black Emperor's sea area. If the Black Emperor and Uchiha Madara start a war, the Marines will take advantage of it and annihilate both forces. What do you think? Sakazuki frowned slightly. Although he was very unhappy with the 530 family from the beginning to the end, he had to say that this plan was very much in line with his wishes. The Black Emperor and Uchiha Madara, two vicious villains. As long as there is a chance, they must be completely buried in the bottom of the sea, and this is a very good opportunity. I agree. I object. All eyes turned to the gray-haired Garp beside him. Uchiha Madara does not seem to be such an impulsive person, and it is impossible for the Dark Emperor to be so stupid to start a war with Uchiha Madara at this time. Whether the Black Emperor and Uchiha Madara are at war or peace is completely unknown. Garp's tone was full of calm, ever since the catastrophic battle in Marineford. It's like he's a different person. The former Garp was reckless and irascible. But now he seems to have inherited the will of Sengoku, Kongji Yu and Suru Vice Admiral, and he is calm and thinks well. Instead of blindly relying on one's own brute force, charge unrestrainedly at the forefront. If this is a conspiracy, and the Black Emperor and Uchiha Madara have allied themselves, then our insertion is undoubtedly an active step into their trap. Is there a possible alliance between the Black Emperor and Uchiha Madara? Sakazuki asked back. When two overlords of the sea meet together, the probability of forming an alliance is far less than the probability of them fighting each other. It's like AHCA, Luogia and Golden Lion. The real strong all have their own pride, and it is more difficult to make them surrender than to die. Forming an alliance means that one of them gains the dominance. Whether it is the Black Emperor or Uchiha Madara, with their characters, they will definitely not hand over the dominance to the other party. Although that is the case, there are still some risks after all, and we need to think again. Kuzan lifted the blindfold and said lazily. Then let's vote with a show of hands. The left hand is in favor, the right hand is against. One person, one vote, you can abstain. Zhang Yang's words fell. The marine generals in the room raised their hands one by one. Zhang Yang glanced at the dozens of marine generals in the room, and 2/3 of them agreed to send troops. A minority chose to abstain, and less than a quarter chose to reject the proposal. The minority obeys the majority, so prepare to send troops. Zhang Yang made a decision and stood up from his seat. The whole army is ready to set off from Tongxia Sea area. Seeing the marine generals leaving one by one to prepare, Garp couldn't help but frown. For some reason, there was always a very uneasy feeling in his heart. Where is the problem? In this entanglement, warships carrying a large number of Marines left naval headquarters one by one. The Marines have all left the headquarters. Dr. Vegapunk, the plan can begin. In the huge operating room, people were busy walking back and forth. Vegapunk, who was standing in front of the control console, listened to the intelligence officer's report and glanced at the deputy beside him. How about getting ready? The distance is adjusted. The energy is filled. Check remaining energy. Remaining energy 95%. Target locked. Everything is ready. Energy charging has reached its peak. Goal, Sanctuary Mariajoy. Vegapunk, dressed in a white coat, pushed his glasses, looking indifferently at the towering red mountain in the distance. Maximum power. Pluton naval gun. Fire. After so many years of preparation, it is finally time to harvest. And he is about to fire the first shot before the decisive battle, completely opening the curtain of this epic battle that affects the entire world. Pluton naval gun. Activating. Hum. The temperature in the cabin rose to 40 degrees Celsius in an instant, and it rose at an extremely fast speed. Inside the 1,000-meter naval gun, palpitating energy fluctuations spread. The pitch-black cannon barrel turned crimson in the high temperature, and a mass of energy the size of a human head gathered and continued to grow. In the blink of an eye, the entire naval gun has been shrouded in the light of honey. The dangerous breath makes the scalp tingle. Whoosh. The brewing light beam cut through the sky in an instant, leaving a long air wave in the sky. Wherever the traces passed, even the sky was burning, and the sea directly evaporated. Under this terrifying impact, the Pluton warship flew back hundreds of meters. Who dares to attack the holy place Mariajoy? Just when the naval gun was about to fall on the holy land Mariajoy, a roar came from the holy land. Immediately afterwards a huge barrier rose. Paramesha barrier fruit. Although it doesn't have any attack power, it can create a barrier against any attack. The previous Black Emperor attack left a bloody lesson and a deep impression on 5 elders and celestial dragons. For this reason, I spared no effort to find this devil fruit. In order to protect the safety of the celestial dragons on the holy land of Mariajoy. Boom. One shot. A huge mushroom cloud bloomed on the holy land of Mariajoy. The guns of the Pluton battleship and the barrier condensed from the barrier fruit collided with each other. The terrifying air waves spread in all directions. The clouds in the sky were dispersed by the terrifying shock wave and shattered into pieces. On the undulating sea surface, monstrous waves appeared, continuously beating on the Hongtian continent. The translucent barrier shattered into pieces like glass. The remnants of Pluton's guns fell on the holy land Mariajoy. In an instant, a full third of the holy site of Mariajoy was destroyed in an instant. The barrier fruit claims to have absolute defense, and can absorb the power of other people's attacks and rebound them. However, under the weapon beyond the conventions of the Pluton battleship, the so-called absolute defense was instantly destroyed. Tread, tread. The sound of low footsteps echoed behind him. Zhang Yang, who was dressed in a black suit, slowly walked over, exuding a rampant aura. The oppressive momentum made the operators in the entire cabin want to suffocate. The scalp exploded in an instant, and dense goosebumps popped up. Already. The faint voice was filled with unquestionable domineering. He who set off with the Marines was just a shadow clone with little combat power. And the real purpose of his body? Only one. Slay the celestial dragons. If you count the time, Aizen should have started, right? Chapter 121 The flames of war ignited. Burning fire. On the cold battlefield, the sea was stained red with blood. The sound of shouting and roaring can be heard endlessly. The fleet from the Black Emperor and the Uchiha pirates collide. Is it already fighting? Fortunately, we came early. Feeling all this from a distance, Sakazuki had a satisfied expression on his face. Next, just wait for both Uchiha Madara and the Black Emperor to suffer, and their marine will be able to take advantage of the gap and wipe out these two sea cancers in one fell swoop. Does something feel wrong? Garp's eyes were serious. They were at the edge of the battlefield, and they could only vaguely see the battlefield in the distance. Although the knowledgeable perception can see that each figure is attacking each other. But why does it feel? Something is missing. Blood. Why no blood? Looking at the blue sea, a thought suddenly popped into Garp's mind. So many people died, why can't I see a little blood? No, there is a problem. Garp's roar echoed around. Mr. Garp, what's the problem? Kuzan opened his eyes slightly with a lazy face, and glanced at Garp suspiciously. I'm not fooled, those pirates in front are all illusions. Illusion. Garp's words made everyone stunned. So many people died, how could it be an illusion? Just as he was about to say something, a frightened voice suddenly sounded in his ear. Look under the water, it seems that something is about to float up. Gulu gulu. Under the deep sea, bubbles boil. Pieces of huge shadows emerged from the bottom of the sea. It's the ship, the flag of the Uchiha pirates. Damn it, aren't they fighting against the Black and Yellow Emperor? Why are they here? Sakazuki let out a roar with an incredulous expression. Looking at the battlefield ahead, the swords collided, the two forces fighting for life and death. At this time, he suddenly stopped moving, and turned around to look at it strangely. Puff puff. The smoke exploded, and all the figures on the boat disappeared. Only empty pirate ships remained. Shadow Clone tricked you here, Marine, but that's all. At the bow of the ship, Uchiha Madara in scarlet plate armor, carrying a round fan on his back, smiled wildly and recklessly. Pirate ships with membranes emerged from the water, surrounding all Marines. I've been waiting for you for a long time. Sakazuki glanced at the silent Zhang Yang, frowning slightly. Feel like there's something wrong with this guy. But it feels a bit indescribable. Unexpectedly, Uchiha Madara would submit to the Black Emperor. Sakazuki said in a deep voice, his tone full of irony and provocation. The Black Emperor did not go to war with Uchiha Madara, so the only option left was to form an alliance. Will the majestic master of the New World succumb to the Black Emperor? Isn't it ridiculous? Child provocation. The corners of Uchiha Madara's mouth raised slightly, and a shadowy figure appeared behind him. The robe on his body turned white like feathering. However, there is one thing you said wrong, it's not that I succumbed to the Black Emperor. From beginning to end, the Black Emperor and Uchiha Madara are one. Just when all Marines are in shock at the news, Uchiha Madara's tone suddenly became low. You guys, what are you waiting for? Who is he talking to? A thought flashed in my heart, and the next second, a violent breath suddenly came from beside me. Bright light shines. Unprepared, Sakazuki was hit by a beam of light suddenly shot from behind, and his chest was instantly pierced. At the same time, Kuzan, who hadn't reacted yet, was hit by a huge chain hammer and flew to the sea. In the crowd, K-Lock Doll, Boa Hancock, Tyrant Bear, and Hawkeye also launched attacks on other people around them. In an instant, Marine's high-end combat power was killed by nearly half. Pelusolino. Raquel, what are you doing? A roar of suppressed anger sounded. Shocked gazes looked at Pelusolino with a lazy expression, and Raquel with a deadpan expression. Who wants to be a spy if given the choice? Facing the startled and angry eyes, Pelusolino shrugged helplessly. But sorry, Raquel and I are both spies. You traitors to Marine are absolutely unforgivable. Garp gritted his teeth, and there seemed to be a flame burning in his angry eyes. The incompetent wailing of the defeated dog, there is no time left for you to vent your anger, if you are angry, you can survive and defeat me. Uchiha Madara, who appeared silently behind Garp, looked indifferent. The pitch-black truth-seeking ball behind him turned into spikes and stabbed forward. The Garp perceived by observation Haki changed his face and covered his whole body with armed colors. Boom. Terrifying force, spreading from the junction where the truth-seeking ball and Haki collided, tore the warship apart beneath its feet. How is this possible? Garp, whose whole body was cracked and blood overflowed from the corner of his mouth, flew upside down with a face full of disbelief. This level of strength has more than doubled compared to before. Then, I leave this place to you, Madara. Zhang Yang, who had been silent all this time, suddenly spoke. In the shocked eyes around him, the figure collapsed like a bubble. Disappeared in smoke. Fake. Fake it. Marshal, he is also a member of the Black Emperor. A group of Marines are messing around in the wind, and half of the admirals in naval headquarters are members of the Black Emperor. Even the Marshal is no exception. 0. Seeking flowers. Is this naval headquarters, or the Black Emperor's branch? Then let Marine be destroyed here. Uchiha Madara folded her hands on her chest, exuding an undisguised aura on her body. Like a lighthouse in the dark. This aura is like an introduction, a strong aura erupts from all around. The 1,000-foot dragon that spans the sky, the 10,000-foot flame knife that steps on the thundercloud. In the four directions of east, west, south, east, and north, giants filled with blue arrogance rose high. This doomed unfair battle has ended since the beginning. Surrender or die, you only have one chance to choose. This is the only kindness I have for the weak. Overlooking those trembling Marines, Uchiha Madara's stalwart figure is like a god, ruling the world. Let the world remember once again the fear of being ruled by Uchiha Madara. After this war, there will be no such thing as world government in this world. Huge floating sky island passes through the sky. A black shadow enveloped the sky and the sun. On the small islands floating around Gaxi Island, pitch-black naval guns were exposed one by one. Cash, Bullet, Bragi, Poros. The forces under the command of the Black Emperor are divided into 6 groups, aiming at the countries in the first half of the Grand Line. Clockadar's all-seeing eye has penetrated most nations. What we have to do is to eliminate all remaining resistance forces in these countries. The golden one eye shone with a cold and stern light. The aura of death filled the air, suffocating people, and Poros, momentum gradually became violent. This time he took Zhang Yang's order to conquer the first half of the Grand Line. Now the marine power of the world government has been restrained by Uchiha Madara, and there is also a special person in charge of the world. As for his opponents, only the army troops of the world government and the CP organization remained. With the all-seeing eye, the power developed in recent years is enough to resist the DP organization. After all, the real high-end combat power of the CP organization is in the Holy Land of Mariajoy to protect the celestial dragons. So what he has to deal with next is only the world government and the armies of the various alliance countries. Glancing at the black imperial guards lined up neatly behind him, these people are the real elite cultivated by Joshi Island in the past few years. Each one is an elite with 1 against 10. With all-seeing eyes and the combination of inside and outside, coupled with the awe of Pluton naval guns, conquering the Grand Line is just a simple matter. Look behind you. They have been preparing for such a long time, recalling all possible changes. The domination of the Four Seas Grand Line and the New World are predictable things. If so, the only place where accidents may occur. Maybe it's just Holy Land. Mariajoy Grand. Chapter 122. The Holy Land is in turmoil. Longevity surgery. Wars ignited all over the world. The sea that has been calm for a long time seems to be greeted with huge waves in an instant. The storm is coming. It is on the bridge section between the Holy Land Mariajoy and Marine Bangbu. The howling wind whipped up dust all over the sky. A huge shadow slipped from the sky. Boom, boom, boom. One by one, strange-looking mechanical soldiers with thick golden hair like lions and metal parts inlaid on their bodies, descended from the sky riding a huge 1,000-year-old dragon. Followed by creatures with even bigger figures. A body made of pure metal, sophisticated electronic eyes, under the rough hair, rough muscles like a beast. Carrying the built-in flame jet on its back, it crashed to the ground. The Moon Lion mechanical troops and the Moon Lion giant god troops landed at the same time. Target detection. Biological energy is locked. A large number of organisms have been detected. 273. Target. Mariajoy. Kill them all. There was a cold murderous intent in the scarlet electronic eyes. There is no emotional color, but there is a sense of trembling that makes people tremble in the bottom of their hearts. This is a group of war weapons purely for killing. When a bunch of cold artillery fire hit the Holy Land of Mariajoy. The Mariajoy, which was destroyed by the Pluton naval gun, was instantly shrouded in the Lord of Fire. Damn, where did these guys come from? Inside the Holy Land Mariajoy. The wails of the celestial dragons hiding in the corner can be heard endlessly. Members of the CP organization and army soldiers poured out from all over the place, looking at the flames burning everywhere. Since the last time the Dark Emperor attacked the Holy Land of Mariajoy, slave riots have killed countless celestial dragons. A large number of armies gathered in the Holy Land of Mariajoy, as well as members of the CP organization are resident here. They are not only responsible for protecting the safety of celestial dragons, but also servants serving celestial dragons. What the hell are these guys? Witnesses saw a giant god soldier descending from the sky, holding a huge sharp blade, destroying houses in an instant. Then came densely packed mechanical soldiers riding dragons, releasing flames and thunder from high altitude, destroying the streets one by one. The army's high-end combat power and the members of the CP organization wanted to stop it, but the defense line form collapsed instantly without even holding on for half a minute under the attack of these transformed troops. I found traces of a large number of murlocs, appearing from behind. Are these damn beasts also going to be enemies of the world government? An atmosphere of panic spread among the crowd. The power of this unknown force that came suddenly is too powerful. Whether it's those mechanical troops with mysterious origins, or the hordes of murlocs. It's not something that can be stopped by the weak forces of the Holy Land Mariajoy alone. There are 3 major departments under the world government, namely the CP organization, the army and the marine. However, whether it is the CP organization or the army, in terms of strength, it is slightly inferior to the strength of marine. What's more, the forces left inside the Holy Land Mariajoy are only the army headquarters and part of the DP organization. But what they are facing is the coalition forces of cyborgs and murlocs that can destroy naval headquarters. Notify naval headquarters quickly and let them come to support. Someone suddenly thought of the newly built naval headquarters not far from the holy place of Mariajoy. With the distance between naval headquarters and the Holy Land of Mariajoy, it only takes a few hours to get there. It's not too late to ask for help. Are you crazy? The fleet of naval headquarters is now all gathered in the Black Emperor Sea. When they come back, the Holy Land Mariajoy has long been destroyed. Then what should we do now? Wait to die. A pair of blank eyes looked at each other. So what should we do now? The Black Emperor's people have already called the door, it's really arrogant. Inside the tall hall, the 5 elders looked at the shrine shimmering with fire. One by one looked inexplicable. The Holy Land of Mariajoy has been established for nearly 1,000 years, and it was never expected that it would be destroyed in the hands of a young boy. It's really scary. Though it was just a disease of ringworm and scabies, unexpectedly it has become a serious problem. Quote. 5 elders sighed with a knife in his arms. Looking at the situation, it seems that Lord I Am is about to come out. 5 elders with blonde curly hair had a calm tone, without any hint of fear or surprise. Although the current situation is beyond expectations, it is also expected. The threat of the Black Emperor and Uchiha Madara has always been like a sharp sword hanging over the head of the world government. The only unexpected thing is that they didn't expect that they would grow into such a fast speed that they could overthrow the power of the world government. It's time to wake up that lord. The five elders looked at each other and walked towards the core area of the Holy Land Mariajoy, an area that no one could approach. World government has been able to stand in this world for so many years, will it not have any decent cards? Except for the franchised countries all over the world. Their greatest reliance is the national treasure hidden among the flowers. The most powerful technological crystallization left by the D family, among the three ancient weapons, Uranus is the most powerful. It is a terrifying power that, once awakened, is enough to make the whole world surrender to it. The final judgment is at hand. Victory belongs to the world government after all. Do you want revenge? Think. Doflamingo is a subordinate of the Black Emperor. If you want to kill him for revenge, you must defeat the Black Emperor first, and now you have an opportunity before you. Among the flowers, in a bright cell, five elders looked at the man imprisoned in the cell with calm eyes. Give immortality to one of us using Op Fruit's immortality surgery. World government. Huh, do you think he'll believe your nonsense? Luo raised his head and glanced at the five people in front of him, with a mocking and disdainful smile on his lips. You have no choice. You must die today. The only difference is whether you want revenge or not. Five elders with long beards said calmly. Can I trust you? The smile on Luo's face disappeared slowly, and he lowered his head in silence for a moment, and said in a low voice. I swear by the name of the world government, the Black Emperor and all forces under his command will be wiped out, and, now you can only trust us. I hope you don't lie to me, I will stare at you with these eyes in another world. Luo's eyes looked like a lone wolf in a desperate situation. His eyes swept across the faces of the five elders and 4.6 stars, as if he wanted to engrave these faces in his mind. Since you agree, don't waste your time. Five elders, with a scar on his face, took a step forward and released the seastone shackles from Luo's hands. Perform longevity surgery on me. Luo flexed his muscles and his eyes flicked from five elders. An impulse to run away just appeared in my heart, but he dismissed it. The five guys in front of them are at least admiral level in strength. He had no chance of escaping at all. I hope you will remember your promise. Holding a long knife in his hand, Luo's hair turned gray at a speed visible to the naked eye. The skin was wrinkled, and the drooping face was squeezed together, and he became a dying old man in an instant. The long knife wrapped in a layer of life breath slowly cut forward. The concept of death. Strip. Chapter 123 The strongest ancient weapon. Uranus. Is this the power of longevity? It's really fascinating. The skin becomes smooth, and a steady stream of vitality emerges from the body. The scars on his face disappeared at a speed visible to the naked eye. Five elders, who had undergone longevity surgery, looked at his hands with admiration. Now he is directly back to the peak period of his life. The feeling of youth is extraordinarily fascinating. The gray-haired Luo knelt down on the ground weakly, having already lost his vitality. This is the price to be paid for violating the laws of nature and confronting the world. If you want to live forever, you must first give up life. How could it be possible for a person to obtain eternal life without paying a small price? Equal exchange is the iron law of the universe that devil fruit cannot violate. He didn't even look at Luo's body. In the eyes of five elders, this is just a piece of garbage that has lost its use value. Staying in the flower room is a defilement of this sacred place. But they are not in the mood to tangle with a corpse right now. With a gesture of awe and shame, the five elders walked to the highest sanctuary in the depths of the flower garden with a gesture of admiration and humility. On the high throne, there are gorgeous jewels and many treasures that can attract the salivation of countless mermaids. A figure shrouded in shadow, with his chin propped on his hand, sat on the throne. The closed eyes are facing the gate of the palace, as if overlooking the world. The five elders came to the foot of the throne steps and knelt slowly. It seems to have slept for a long time again. This dirty and chaotic world has produced filth again. A low, dream-like murmur came from the throne. A pair of numb and cold eyes slowly opened. The hall was instantly enveloped by a powerful aura. Even a figure like five elders who stands at the top of the world's power can't help but hold his breath. Their so-called superior aura, under this man's aura, is as immature as a child. That is the power over this world. What do you mean by waking me up? He casually glanced at the world outside the door. His brows were slightly frowned, as if a little dissatisfied. This symbolizes the sacred place where the descendants of the king lived. Why is there such a commotion? Lord I am, the world government is facing the greatest catastrophe in the millennium. Two rebellious forces are trying to overthrow this sacred rule. Are these rebels again? The D's. I am slowly stood up from the throne, his tone a little impatient. Over the past thousands of years, the world government has experienced several crises that were almost subverted, and behind all of these are the figures of the D family. He was about to gradually lose patience with these reptile-like creatures. Not sure, but very likely one of them too. Five elders lowered his head, his tone was flattering, and his position was placed very low. In front of this great figure who has survived for thousands of years, their status and strength are really not worth mentioning. Even, all their honor and strength come from this lord. The original founder of world government. This world was once ruled by 20 kings of the D clan. The betrayer monkey clan and your ancestors overthrew the D kingdom, and you have your current status. You incompetent descendants, are you going to rule this world again? To give them back their dominion? The understatement of the tone made 5 elders' foreheads start to break out in cold sweat. The heavy air pressure pervading the hall, like a falling mountain, presses down on my heart. Don't dare, Lord I am. 5 elders wiped the cold sweat off his brow, bowed his head, shivering. This adult has the ability to decide their life and death with a single word. Since you have decided to wake me up to take action, you should know the price to pay. M's eyes turned to the 5 elders in the crowd. The Uranus of the D family needs to be driven by a special bloodline. If a person who is not a royal family of D is forced to drive it, it will consume a lot of vitality. So there are 2 ways to forcibly drive Uranus: to sacrifice a large number of living people, or to perform long-term surgery. Longevity surgery can maintain one's own life operation by stimulating vitality and absorbing external life energy, reaching a level that is close to immortality. But longevity is not eternal life after all. If the speed of consuming life energy is faster than the speed of absorbing life energy, then the so-called eternal life of longevity surgery is just empty talk. With your strength, even if you perform the longevity surgery, you can only control Uranus for half an hour at most, otherwise your life will be endangered. IM took the 5 elders to the restricted area deep among the flowers. A huge straw hat-like building came into view. Uranus has always been buried in the Holy Land, and this is the control core to open Uranus. As this Uranus, 5 elders approached cautiously, watching carefully the legendary ancient weapon known as the strongest for thousands of years, Uranus. Breathing suddenly became heavy. This powerful force should be Uranus, right? Zhang Yang's gaze looked far away towards the interior of the Holy Land Mariajoy, in the direction between the flowers. There is a terrifying force, and the recovery is spreading there. This power is so terrifying that even he feels palpitations. Rumble. The hard red line cracked little by little. What happened? Why does the red line crack? In a pair of shocked eyes, a huge metal giant broke free from the red soil. The gigantic figure nearly 1,000 meters high is wrapped in dazzling metal. In the blue energy hubs, there is azure light. What kind of monster is this? Countless pairs of stunned eyes looked at the giant that went straight into the sky. What the hell is this again? Rumble. The dazzling lightning roared, enveloping the entire giant's body. 1 foot landed, and half of the Holy Land Mariajoy was directly reduced to powder under this foot. The power of Uranus is like the wrath of the gods. Isn't this level of power a bit too exaggerated? Zhang Yang smacked his lips and looked up at the sky. Isn't this thing really exaggerated enough? If it is said that he can be more outrageous than him in terms of size, Zhang Yang can only think of Shangzu. That is a power that completely surpasses the limit of this world. Aizen, I leave this to you. From there he felt a breath that transcended Uranus. Boom. Zhang Yang ignored the 1 man and 1 machine who were fighting. With Aizen's current strength, it won't take much effort to get rid of him. Then, let me play with this interesting little thing. A gigantic light blade thousands of meters long cut out. The white clothes fluttered, the breeze blew the ends of her hair, and Aizen waved the Zon Sol Dao lightly, cutting across. The 5 elders driving Uranus turned pale, spat out a mouthful of blood, and looked terrified. Zhang Yang withdrew his gaze. Although Uranus's power was terrifying, it hadn't reached the point where he couldn't resist it. Clatter. Can fight Uranus single-handedly. What kind of monster is this guy? Terrible explosions and sound waves spread. The butterfly wings flapped, tearing apart the space in an instant and appearing in front of Uranus. The light cocoon shattered, and 3 pairs of butterfly-like light wings swayed, exuding a deadly and dangerous aura. The Uranus's hard metal shell cracked a tens of meters long crack in an instant, and it continued to expand. Although the size looks a little exaggerated, but the strength is at best equivalent to the first line of super general level. Aizen with a fake smile on his face, a light cocoon emerged from his body. He looked in the direction of the flowers, the magnificent palace. Chapter 124, Great Sun Golden Crow. 2 days turned into the sky. Tread, tread. The sound of low footsteps echoed in the hall. The huge shadow, under the illumination of the light, is infinitely elongated. Why did you come here? The figure sitting upright on the high throne lifted his drooping eyebrows slightly. The aura of calmness and prestige made the air a little depressing. As the saying goes, if you kill people and kill them, cut grass and roots, people outside will be able to solve it quickly, and you are the only one left. There was a faint smile on Zhang Yang's face, and his eyes were cold. Are things so extreme? I have lived for too long, so long that power, wealth, status, and blood have lost their attraction to me. Im's voice is calm, not his calmness. As an old antique that has survived thousands of years ago, his emotion and will have long been worn out in endless years. Fear and desire are just dispensable things for him. Since 500 years ago, he lost all his pursuits, and has been forcing himself into a deep sleep. Living is just to live, not that he doesn't want to die. It's that no one can kill him, not even himself. You don't need to fight me at all. IM analyzed the pros and cons from a third-person perspective. Because, in the battle of life and death, you may not be able to win me, but if you leave now, the whole world will become yours. He could feel that the man in front of him was not of the blood of the D family. In other words, there is no deep hatred between him and her. His residual emotions made him only have violent mood swings when facing the alien invaders of the D clan. Besides, it doesn't make any difference to him that anyone becomes the ruler of this world. You don't die, I can't sleep. Zhang Yang's tone was indifferent, no one can change what he believes. He could not care about the existence of those ants that could not threaten him. But the I am in front of him puts too much pressure on him. This kind of powerhouse of the same level, keeping is also a disaster. There is no hostility towards him now, but who can tell what will happen in the future? Hey, it's somewhat similar to me in the past, the same aloof and conceited. The corner of Im's mouth twitched undetectably. Slowly getting up from the throne, in an instant, an aura that could tear apart the world spread out from his body. Caw caw caw. The void vibrated and shattered like glass. In the past, with my own strength, I suppressed and killed 20 kings of the D family, and led those stupid guys to create a world government. If you think you can beat me, then let me see how good you are. I've lived too long. It's been so long that he's tired of his own life. If he could die here today, it would be a fulfilling life for him. You too, you are a powerhouse who has surpassed Fruit Awakening. The figure appeared in front of Zhang Yang in an instant. The raging flames seemed to come from the anger of the whole world. Zhang Yang's pupils contracted slightly, and the approaching flames were reflected in his eyes. Wherever the flames passed, the space was burned through and distorted. This flame is no ordinary flame. Boom. The scorching flames devoured everything. The entire red line was incinerated at high temperatures. The violent power spread, Zhang Yang's body crashed through the layers of buildings like a shell, and flew tens of thousands of meters. Fly all the way out of the red line, falling from the sky. I am a phantom beast, an ancient god, and an ability user in the form of the sun god Apollo. My flame is as hot as the surface of the sun, and my speed is faster than light. As long as there is the sun, I will be immortal. Im's figure was chasing after Zhang Yang like a ray of bright streamer, with fiery rays of light waving wantonly on his body. Boom. The wrath of Apollo. The raging flames condensed into a spear, and with indifferent eyes, threw the spear forward forcefully. The piercing flame spear burned through the space and appeared in front of Zhang Yang in an instant. Call. A fiery breath rushed towards his face, and his hair was slightly curled. Zhang Yang was impaled by this flame spear and fell into the sea. Zilla. The overwhelming flames surged wildly, and the blazing heat that erupted at that moment caused the sea area with a radius of tens of kilometers to be boiled, and steaming steam came out. The sea area of tens of kilometers was evaporated in an instant. Do you died? Im's expression was a little pity. He didn't think anyone could survive this level of attack. With a high temperature comparable to that of the sun, even real gods would perish under this kind of flame. He can suppress the entire kingdom of D by himself. It relies on this mighty power comparable to that of a god. Yes, you can be proud if you can hurt me a little. A faint voice came from the mist behind him. Who turned around and was about to leave, paused, a trace of astonishment flashed in his eyes, and then the corners of his mouth couldn't help but rise up. Interesting, to survive an attack of that magnitude. He can be sure that this person did not dodge the blow just now. However, he was able to meet his full blow head on, and he was still alive. No matter what the reason is, just by virtue of this person has already made him a little bit interested. Is that the Black Emperor? I recognize your power. The long-lost blood made feel that his dead heart seemed to come alive. He seemed to feel alive again. What was the name of the flame you just had? Zhang Yang patted the unburned flame on his body with a calm expression. The body scalded by the flames recovers at a speed visible to the naked eye. Fire of the sun. Wrath of Apollo. Sunfire. The corners of Zhang Yang's mouth turned up slightly, and there seemed to be a hint of cold irony in his eyes. A flame of this level deserves to be called the fire of the sun. What do you mean this guy? Im's eyes could not help flashing a gloomy look, although he didn't care about anything. But it is not enough to be scorned face to face, and it is still indifferent. Don't get me wrong, your strength is very good, at least in this world. I don't think anyone can surpass you except me. The tone was full of appreciation. Slowly take off your shirt. Behind Zhang Yang, a group of fiery flames surged, and the whole world was rendered in red in an instant. But, do you have any misunderstanding about the sun fire? The resonant cry set off a wave of fire, and a three-legged bird with a pure gold color rose from behind Zhang Yang. Earth, wind, water and fire, the power of the four phenomena evolve, and time and space stand still for an instant. It can also be regarded as a counterattack from heaven and earth. Zhang Yang's body was shrouded in flames, and the billowing flames spread from bottom to top, condensing into Li's, a golden emperor robe dotted with three-legged golden crows. I still wanted to play with you, so let's make a quick decision. Crash. Like a round of scorching sun, the eyes of burning people hurt. Noble, hot, a phantom shadow of a chaotic copper bell hangs above the head, with thousands of rays of light hanging down from it. World order. How annoying. On the sky, a huge three-legged golden crow holds the scorching sun in its mouth. The dull bell echoed, and the invisible ripple spread in a circular shape. The space was shattered, and the chaotic space-time turbulence hit Zhang Yang's body. The sky is doubled, and the whole world is dazzlingly bright. One after another, faintly visible chains emerged from between the sky and the earth, winding towards Zhang Yang's body. Because if the power breaks through the limit of the world, it may cause eternal trauma to the world. A big sun turned across the sky, and the whole world fell into a strange scene in an instant. Swing. Zhang Yang looked around and frowned slightly. The strength broke through the carrying limit of this world, which would trigger the world's self-protection mechanism. Chapter 125. The war is over. The trend of unity. Dense chains protruded from all directions, trying to wrap around Zhang Yang's body, but were blocked by the illusory copper bell above his head. Swing. As if from ancient times, the sound of the bell when the heaven and the earth were not opened shook the soul. The shattered void and the raging turbulence of time and space are difficult to approach under the suppression of the bell. The regular chains exuding a powerful aura were torn apart just by touching the brilliance of the copper bell. Standing on the sky, this humble copper bell is like a majestic and inviolable god king, suppressing the heavens. Sun god fire. Burn all Tao. Behind him is the ups and downs of the golden crow, with the sun in its mouth, shining brightly. The body slowly turned into a round of burning sun, falling down. The wrath of Apollo. Im's eyes widened, and the corners of his eyes were torn. Under the huge pressure, the skin of his body burst open for a moment. A flaming spear was condensed in his hand, and he threw it forward with all his strength. Call. The spear landed on the huge blazing sun and exploded instantly. The fiery flames turned into a wall of fire, trying to devour the sun in front of them. The crow of the golden crow came from the setting sun, and a huge attraction instantly swallowed the surrounding flames. How is it possible? How is it possible in the world that there are more fiery abilities than my devil fruit? Im's body exploded back, his face full of disbelief. The Apollo fruit of 917 phantom beast species is the most powerful fire-type devil fruit, and it is far inferior to the lava fruit, which is known as the top of Logia. But what's the situation now? His fruit ability has been crushed. No, it should be said that his devil fruit ability was completely nullified, and even turned into someone else's power. What the hell is this? It can even devour a flame whose temperature is comparable to the surface of the sun. What you rely on is just the temperature of the sun's surface, and my strength. Zhang Yang opened his hands to embrace the world, and the huge golden crow phantom exploded in an instant. The overwhelming sun divine fire blocked all of Im's escape routes. Hotter than the sun itself. Bury under your proudest flame. Zhang Yang's eyes shone with a cold luster. Sympathy. There is no such thing. He only believes in winners and losers. There is only one end for those who disobey him. Die. Hot flames sprinkled on the body. I am struggling hard amidst the wailing, a long-lost fear rose deep in his heart. Before death comes, everyone dares to say that they are not afraid of death. But when death came, there are a few people who can face it calmly. A futile struggle. Zhang Yang watched I am reduced to ashes in the flames with a cold eye. Overnight, the whole world was caught in flames of war. The four seas of East, West, North, South, the first half of the Grand Line, the middle and second half of the Grand Line. Except for the second half of the Grand Line, which has long been unified by Uchiha Madara, the New World area. Wars are burning all over the world. One by one, the forces flying the banner of the Black Dragon attacked the various islands. All the franchise countries that belong to the world government were all captured by powerful forces one by one. Powerful mechanical soldiers, the Kingdom of Knights and Wanokuni, the Fishman Island. The intensity of the war was far more tragic than imagined. Those kingdoms that used to be aloof, thought that they would never fall to the capital. It was trampled to pieces by the iron hooves of the Black Emperor in just one night. Each city was hung with a banner belonging to the Black Emperor. Unlike when they became a member of the world government, the royal families of each kingdom still maintained their autonomous status. When the major kingdoms joined the world government, they were under the rule of the world government on the surface. But in fact, the ruling class of each country is still the royal family. The world government cannot and dare not participate in the affairs of the royal family, otherwise it will inevitably arouse strong resistance. Therefore, from a certain point of view, apart from enshrining the celestial dragons, the world government and the royal families of various countries have equal status. When the world government needs it, the kingdoms will do their best to provide supplies, and even unconditionally participate in conscription. But when the kingdom is threatened, the world government is also obliged to send strong men to suppress the rebellion. To put it bluntly, the world government is just a loose alliance of various countries. The meaning of their existence is actually to maintain their respective status. A country with tyranny may be overthrown at any time, but if AHCC, this country has dozens of allies of the same strength. And who can overthrow them as a whole? As the master of the alliance, the status of celestial dragons is lofty, but not absolute. However, Zhang Yang's goal was not an alliance from the beginning to the end. He doesn't need a loose alliance like the world government. What he wants is a unified empire with centralized power in one body. All owned or conquered countries have only one true ruler. That's him, the Dark Emperor. His ambition destined him to stand in the opposite camp with those hereditary princes and aristocrats. He needs to replace these royal families, and those royal families want to maintain their supremacy. Since there is no compromise with each other, only one party can disappear. But the current situation is that he has an absolute advantage, and there is no possibility of losing at all. The iron cavalry of the Black Emperor crushed and conquered one resistance force after another. Surrender may still leave a title of honor, and future generations will have no worries about food and clothing for a lifetime. Rebellion is destined to have only one end. Die. The strength is good, but unfortunately, it is too clumsy. Like a monster, Aizen spoke calmly, his figure flickered, and he avoided the thunderbolt that fell from the sky. On the butterfly wings exuding hazy light, the deadly brilliance shone from the mouth of the already rounded skeleton. Boom. With a violent storm, the great Uranus withered in the light. The figure slowly shrunk back to its normal state. Aizen was dressed in white houri and wearing glasses, with a hypocritical smile on his gentle face. Uchiha Madara yawned, and dropped Garp, who was covered in blood and half-breathed. 3 ancient weapons, Uranus. That's all. A ruined sanctuary of Mariajoy. In the first half of the Grand Line, Lord Poros suppressed it. Although there was a lot of resistance, there was no big problem. As for the Revolutionary Army, Doflamingo and other ulterior motives, he can't make any troubles in his hands. This battle is far simpler than imagined. Zhang Yang hung up the phone. Under the huge power gap, it was simply a massacre without resistance. It's worth mentioning that we encountered resistance from the remnants of the D clan, but it didn't cause any substantial damage. So far, the situation of the war is very good, and it is estimated that there is still a week to achieve the initial expected results. In the Haiwang Sea area, a kilometer-long dragon stepped on the fainted Kuzan, and Bigmom, holding a flaming knife, beheaded Sakazuki, who was seriously injured but refused to surrender. It's really boring. All forces in North Blue have surrendered, and the war in South Blue, East Blue, and West Blue has come to an end. On the other side of the phone, Kashu was summarizing the war that had lasted for a long time. Uchiha Pirates vs Marine, a big victory. As far as the eye can see, all the Marines put down their weapons and gathered together honestly. Sitting on the throne that originally belonged to IM, he fell into deep thought. The war is coming to an end, and it is only a matter of time before the remaining resistance forces need to be eliminated step by step. Chapter 126. The old era is over. A new era begins. The continuous war gradually came to an end. All the member countries of the world, as well as small countries independent of the world government. Under the trampling of the Black Emperor's iron hoof, he lost his last dignity. Some were able to see the current situation clearly, so they directly chose to surrender. Zhang Yang has never been stingy with this kind of smart people who know the times. Although it cannot give them personal status, it can ensure that they have no worries about food and clothing. Still enjoying a rich life. As long as you pay such a small price, you can win a country without bloodshed. From any point of view, this kind of thing is blood money. Of course, some people can see the practice clearly and choose to surrender. Naturally, there are also fools who think they are powerful and try to fight against the power of the Black Emperor. Zhang Yang will not show mercy to such idiots. Because of this war, too many people died. Would he care about the death of 1 or 2 more people? What a bunch of idiots, isn't it good to live? The cold hall was filled with a strong smell of blood, and the floor was stained red with blood. Countless collapsed buildings are as flat as if they had been cut by a knife, and broken corpses are scattered around. Doflamingo, dressed in pink yuya, walked in slowly with figure-8 steps. The corners of the mouth raised slightly, with wanton reckless presumptuousness. Invisible threads trembled on the slightly raised fingers. The guards with weapons in their hands slowly raised the steel knives in their hands with horror in their eyes. Put it on your neck. Puff. Blood spattered, and the blood-stained figures fell to the ground one by one. You, what do you want to do? The king, who fell down on the throne, looked at Doflamingo who was walking slowly in horror. I told you a long time ago to make you surrender, why didn't you obey me? Doflamingo's mocking tone was full of regret. The king was originally his, but unfortunately he suddenly repented at the end of the day and did not want to be deprived of the throne. But he never thought about one thing, is resistance useful? I surrender now, as long as you spare my life, I can do anything. The tearful king, urine wet his trousers and flowed down the throne. My heart is full of regrets, why did I listen to Minister Zuo's bewitching? The corner of Doflamingo's mouth twitched slightly, and a look of disgust flashed in his eyes behind the sunglasses. Can such a performance be called a king? This world is indeed rotten, and it is disgustingly rotten. If regret is useful, what justice does the world need? Doflamingo grasped it with his fingers, and 5 delicate lines of colorful Madara flew forward. Puff. Everything in front of my eyes was torn apart by sharp thin lines. The moment he turned around, a self-deprecating smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Unexpectedly, the word, justice, would appear in his mouth. However, people have to make choices for themselves and bear the due price. I hate the guy who betrayed me. The hoofprints of giant elephants stepped on the land, and warriors in armor and swords fought with the rebels. Being able to make even the world government fearful, Wano-kuni's strength should not be underestimated. The combination of Fur Tribe and Wano-kuni is a force that can suppress a sea area. Kazuki Odin, holding 2 long knives, one black and one white, was stained with blood, looking at the royal capital in the distance. His eyes narrowed slightly. Using the strong to bully the weak is a matter of high intent. Swish. The huge slash tore apart the armored camp in front of him. However, everyone serves the master, and he does not lose the way of a warrior. Half an hour later, the strong city gate was breached. The huge black dragon flag was planted above the palace. On the huge battlefield, knights in bright silver armor advanced forward in formation. The sound of orderly and roaring footsteps echoed on the edge of the battlefield. The National Defense Army standing in front of them collapsed under this momentum. What monsters are these? The sergeant major with cold sweat on his forehead looked at the army of knights getting closer, his legs were trembling. It's impossible for us to be opponents of a group of monsters. Accompanied by hysterical screams, the scattered camp of the National Defense Army collapsed instantly under this dull pressure. A mob. There was a stern look in the Night King's eyes, and the Night Phalanx followed closely behind a group of rout soldiers and wrapped them up. Mr. Dorag, the last allied country of the world government, has been captured by us, what are you going to do next? The interior of the palace has been occupied by the Revolutionary Army. This is also their last goal. Looking at the black flag hanging on the castle, Drago narrowed his eyes slightly. The look in his eyes is intriguing. Cooperating with the Dark Emperor to overthrow the world government is a choice made out of necessity. In fact, they have no choice. If they don't cooperate, then the first target of the Black Emperor may have become them. Overthrew the world government, but got a more powerful Dark Emperor. Is this right or wrong? It is undeniable that the existence of celestial dragons has seriously threatened the world. But who can guarantee that the Dark Emperor will not be the next celestial dragons? Who can resist the Black Emperor who has conquered this world? Shaking his head slowly, no matter what, at least for now, it is a good thing for this world that the Dark Emperor replaces the world government. Even if the future is more unacceptable than the current situation, who can say what will happen in the future? In the world once ruled by the world government, since there can be an existence like the Black Emperor who suppresses everything, it might not be impossible for a strong man to surpass the Black Emperor and overthrow his tyranny again. At least, for this day and age. 0. Seeking flowers. The existence of the Black Emperor is far better than the world government. He also didn't have the idea of confronting the Black Emperor. The Black Emperor suppressed everything, and this was an unchangeable foregone conclusion. Instead of increasing indifferent casualties, retaining strength and developing secretly is the right way. Hey Shao, hey Emperor, you really played a huge game of chess. There was a wry smile on the corner of his mouth, and his eyes seemed a little self-deprecating. The world is a chessboard, and all living beings are chess pieces. In this overwhelming situation, you still won in the end. I'm not as good as you. The battle of the four seas is coming to an end, and the remaining resistance forces are hiding in dark corners, trying to survive. There will never be a shortage of those wonderful things in this world. A group of remnant forces who thought they were loyal and made waves in the name of restoring the country, but in fact very few responded. The princes and nobles escaped by luck, so what's the use of unwilling resistance? The gap in high-end combat power makes those so-called resistance doomed to be futile. 0. Dozens of admiral-level powerhouses suppressed it, even if the world government was revived, so what? If Zhang Yang can kill them once, he can kill them a second time. If they can stir up public outrage, maybe they can cause some trouble. But in fact, no one cares about these former nobles at all. The new decrees issued by the countries ruled by the Black Emperor have steadily improved the quality of life of all civilians. Pirate removal campaign, equal cultural output. The high-yielding gene breeds produced in the Vegapunk laboratory, as well as the promotion of various high-tech. The civilization level of the whole world has been promoted to a level. The gap between this is like the 1990s and the 20th century, it can be said to be a world of difference. Unless it's a fool. In other words, the royal families in the whole world are eliminated, leaving only one emperor who is above all others. Being hailed as a hero. Will the civilians who have tasted the sweetness want to go back to the past, the day and night, when officials and thieves were combined, and they might be robbed by pirates at any time? Will eventually achieve greatness. Stop making G jokes. The privileges of nobility have not disappeared, and Zhang Yang never thought of creating a world where everyone is equal. All his goals and ambitions are to support one person with all the resources and rights of the royal family. Are high and low status the same level? What good would that do him? Looking down at everything outside the window, his ambitions and ideals have ushered in a new era. The rule of the world government has ended, and the name of this era is now called the Black Emperor. It took so much effort just for the sake of a word of equality. Compared with the current Dark Emperor, what are the celestial dragons? Of course, there is only one thing that will never change, and that is the status of the Black Emperor. A heroic and magnificent feeling reverberated in his chest. 20 clans of celestial dragons, and only one Black Emperor. Chapter 127 Ascension to the Throne. King of Kings. Time goes by little by little. With the end of the war, the turbulent world became calm again. The wounds of war will always fade faster than imagined. The war that raged across the world seemed like nothing more than a waking nightmare. The bustling streets are still full of people, laughing and laughing, endless. If there must be any difference, it may be that the smiles on people's faces are brighter. There is a sense of freedom and vigor in the air. The remaining marine forces under the world government are fleeing, and we have found their traces. Kasho stood under the throne and reported in a low voice. The battle at the peak was so large that it almost affected the lower powers of the entire world government. In that battle, Marine and the Uchiha Madara pirates fought a decisive battle in the Black Emperor Sea. Although the final result ended with Marine's defeat. 207. However, Marine was not completely wiped out. After all, although that battle was fierce, it only gathered most of Marine's combat power. In each Marine branch base, there are still not a few powerful people from the various schools in the headquarters to suppress. The CP organization's spy systems hidden all over the world have not been completely wiped out. Among them is the former Admiral Zephyr and his students who did not participate in the final battle. With Zephyr's character, the probability of revenge for the world government is very low. But among his students, there is no lack of some students who are loyal to the world government. Of course, these are just small troubles for Zhang Yang. He didn't take it to heart. Whether it is the CP organization or the remaining forces of Marine. Even with the addition of some hidden forces from the world government headquarters, it will not pose the slightest threat to him. The strength gap between the two sides is not a grade at all. Even if we take another revolutionary army, so what? Not to mention these admiral-level powerhouses under his command, together they can form a reinforced company. Even if it is his 3 incarnations, picking out one at random can suppress them all. There is no need for him to do it himself. So, I don't feel any pressure at all. Finally, you can rest. Looking up at the ceiling, Zhang Yang's body was limp, and he was lying relaxed on the chair. The eyes are relaxed and the heart is relaxed. Ever since he came to this world, there has always been a sense of urgency deep in his heart, urging him not to stop. It seems that as long as you stop for a moment, you will be crushed to death by the wheel of history. He looks free and easy, but the pressure in his heart is no less than anyone else. And now, it's finally over. His ideals, his ideas, his ambitions. It's all just one last step away. The war is over, and it's time to share the cake. Although the big head is with him, it is always okay to let the people below drink some gnocchi. In the former Holy Land of Mariajoy, tall buildings rose from the ground. Compared with the original Holy Land Mariajoy, the Black Palace built on its basis is much larger than Mariajoy in terms of scale and style. More than 30,000 people participated in the construction alone, and there are dozens of special demon fruit power. Plus top architects from around the world. It took a full 3 months to build the palace. A week after the completion, the long-planned enthronement ceremony also began naturally. The luxurious main hall is dotted with gorgeous chandeliers, the pure white background is matched with golden patterns, and a noble and elegant atmosphere blows towards the face. Exquisite and sweet snacks and drinks are placed everywhere. Dorag, Kaido, Kazuki Odin. Those who can enter the hall to observe the ceremony are all strong men standing at the top of the world. Or a close friend of Zhang Yang. The enthronement ceremony is not complicated, witnessed by countless strong men and newspapers around the world. Zhang Yang wears a crown symbolizing imperial power. The whole process went with the flow, just followed a simple process. After all, in terms of his current status, even if you just pick up a stone from the ground and say that it is an inheritance jade seal, and you have your own destiny, who would dare to say no? The crown is just a superficial symbol. His rights and fame actually come from his own strength. That's what it's really like to be on top of the world. The pair of eyes under the stands is indescribably complicated. Everybody knows. Starting today, the man in front of him has become the most honorable man in the world. He is a symbol of power and strength. King of Kings, Black Emperor, this title is quite interesting. Zhang Yang held a newspaper in his hand, with an interested smile on his face. Newspapers carry the latest news. The headlines are all in bold red fonts. The Black Emperor, who ruled the world, established the Black Dragon Empire based on the former Holy Land Mariajoy under the banner of the Black Dragon. The title of King of the Five Seas has become another title at some point. King of Kings, Black Emperor. Its implication is, above the king, the Supreme Emperor. When it comes to flattering, the reporters from this group of newspapers are even better at licking. Neither is very satisfied with this title. The King of Kings sounds like the King of the Five Seas hockey too much. Hockey without being tacky. Rumble. Joshi Island floated in the sky not far from the Black Palace, and the sound of continuous shelling came from afar. The gravel cracked, and traces of potholes appeared on the Red Continent. The existence of the Red Line can be said to have cut off the normal communication between the Grand Line and the world. Seriously affected the exchanges and contacts in various places. Although there are seastone ships that can pass through the calm belt freely, there are still some troubles after all. Zhang Yang frowned, 4.5 wrote and drew on a piece of paper. Fortunately, he has plenty of time to slowly fill in the rules of the game that he has formulated. East Blue, West Blue, South Blue, North Blue, Grand Line, and New World. You can set up the next 6 divisions, and the top executive will be the peak of admiral. After all, it is impossible for him to govern such a big world by himself. However, it is not realistic to fabricate a system that is reasonable and suitable for the current situation out of thin air. Let's just leave the basic template like this, and other things can be added slowly, and the next step is the law. Follow fairness and order. The specific division of power still needs to be experimented and optimized step by step. The land of the 4 seas, free travel, coupled with the widespread popularization of electronic technology and satellites. Zhang Yang tapped the table lightly. Therefore, it is inevitable to split up the power fragmentarily. To make the rule long, a reasonable management system is essential. So getting through the Red Line and building several large transfer stations is Zhang Yang's first big plan. Even if there is a real rebellion, it can be suppressed as quickly as possible. These things can be discussed with Drago. Each part is divided into 9 sea areas, and the admiral and vice admiral level powerhouses are in charge. Undoubtedly, it strengthened his rule and minimized the risk of rebellion. Between him and Dorag, although there may be slight differences in concept, there is one thing they are similar to.